How can I get over you? Why do we have to be apart? We go where nobody has ever been, and we come again from the place we have never known. There are too many shadows of your love everywhere around me. Stuck, stuck, stuck in love. Mysterious light, still discovery. How can I get over you? Why do we have to be apart? And I'm wondering if you know why, know why. And I'm wondering if you know why, know why. How can I get over you? Why do we have to be apart? place we have never known. There are too many shadows of your love everywhere around me. Stuck in love. Mysterious light, still discovery.
paper says doomsday. The button has been pressed. We're gonna nuke each other up, boys, till old Satan stands impressed. And here it is, our final night alive. And as the earth burns to the ground, oh girl, it's you that I lie with. As the atom bomb locks in, oh it's you I watch TV with. As the world caves in. You put your finest suit on, I paint my fingernails. Oh, we're going out in style, babe, and everything's on sale. We creep up on extinction. I pull your arms right in. I weep and say goodnight, love, while my organs pack it in. And here it is, our final night alive. And as the earth turns to the ground, oh girl, it's you that I lie with. As the atom bomb locks in, oh it's you I watch TV with. As the world cares, oh it's you that I lie with. As the atom bomb locks in, yes it's you I welcome death with. As the world caves.
Baby, I don't feel so good. 6 words you never understood. I'll never let you go. 5 words you never say. I laugh alone like nothing's wrong. 4 days has never felt so long. Let's breathe the crowd into us, one slipped away. I just wanna make you feel okay, but all you do is look the other way. I can tell you how much I wish I didn't want to stay. I just kinda wish you were gay. Is there a reason we're not through? Is there a 12-step just for you? Our conversations all in blue. I live in haze. 10 fingers tearing out my hair. 9 times you never made it there. I ate alone at 7, you were 6 minutes away. How am I supposed to make you feel okay when all you do is walk the other way? I can't tell you how much I wish I didn't want to stay. I just kinda wish you were gay to spare my pride, to give your lack of interest an explanation. Don't say I'm not your type, just say that I'm not your preferred sexual orientation. I'm so selfish, but you make me feel helpless, yeah. And I can't stand another day, stand another day. I just wanna make you feel okay, but all you do is look the other way. I can't tell you how much I wish I didn't wanna stay. I just kinda wish you were gay. I just kinda wish you were gay. I just kinda wish you were gay.
I could spend hours in your eyes. Hours pass so quick by your side. So won't you please stay the night? I want you here, so I'm alright. I wanna fall into you. I wanna fall into you. I wanna talk to me till I see the sun. Watch movies and laugh, have fun. Hold me close at 1:30. I cannot believe
and the guys love me so much, and they do respect that I'm the CEO. So sometimes, like, hey, yo, how do you play Disruptor? And they will be very kind, saying, well, unfortunately, Disruptor is not this. Or I can say, oh, how about Tech? It's like, no, unfortunately, it's not that. But you can see then that it's like literally if a 5-year-old told you, but daddy, but what if you? Yeah, well, if Superman was to fight Batman, it would be a contested fight. It's like, you know.
You
Jesus
should pull the
Christ.
CEO card a little bit more. Be like, listen,
Me?
you're not going to TI unless you pick fucking Alchemist right now. Alchemist Jungle, okay?
I don't think I can
listen to
say
me.
it without laughing.
But that's a good hero right now. Unless you pick.
Yeah. It
Not for
doesn't matter.
Arkosh Gaming, let me tell you. You know, Jenkins broke the record for most self-damage on Alchemist in a TI pro game during the DPC. He did triple self-damage than enemy damage in our elimination game. Shout out to you, Jenkins.
So,
Dumbass.
1 second. Have you seen, actually, it's like, I don't know if you saw it, but you saw that we played against an anti-mage alchemist blink dagger. So the point was that he had to stand himself next to the anti-mage. Because if he throws to the anti-mage, it bounces back. So Misha will be timing it, and he will blink in, boom, and explode himself. And then we will blow up the anti-mage. He did it 3 or 4 times, huh?
Yeah. At least he hit someone. That's great. Good for Misha. Very strong. Very good.
I did see that Twitter compilation
So, to wrap up the podcast,
of Jenkins.
the Twitter compilation, you seen it?
Up quite regularly on Alchemist. So I actually got the reference. Normally.
Yeah, that's great.
Can you send it to Matt
Yeah,
so we can
okay.
put it here?
Everybody's gonna see it. Oh, all you need to know is that we're holding on. Even on the way, we will rise up and we follow the path that we believe in. No, we're not gonna stop until we reach it. Oh, all you need to know is that we're holding on. We rise up from the dust and clean my throat.
I'm losing $10,000 a day on this team, okay? They need to shape it up. $10,000 a day!
So the last thing, Major Slacks, you going?
Am I going to the major? Is that
Yep.
been announced yet?
I think so, right? The cast has been announced?
Yes. Oh yeah, it's like I leave in like 48 hours. Yes, I am going to
Awesome.
the major. Yeah.
Awesome, dude, I'll see you there.
Not.
I'm going there as well.
Fantastic. Bye, Effie.
Effie, what? No, Effie, what is your visa situation? Come on, like we'll make a visa for you. Like, what do you need?
I mean, at this point, it's like no time to go to Malaysia for my interview. So I told you I had set it up so that if I did get the invite, I would just fly to Malaysia the second I got it, do the visa, come back here. But now it's a little bit too late. Just gonna enjoy it from home. Cheer you guys on. Can't wait to consume the Slacks content. But of course, the Monkey Business show. Are you gonna do it live again?
I have no one to do it with again.
Oh no.
So
At the major?
at the major, no, Johan cannot go, and Seb is playing, so I'm back again. You wanna do it, Slack?
DM me. We'll see,
Okay,
we'll
I'll
see.
DM you then after this.
All right.
But yeah, dude, Effie and Malaysia, are you going? I don't know if that's gonna be announced. I don't think it's announced yet. No, so I don't want to put you into trouble.
Yeah. What the hell are you
I
trying to do
don't
here?
know,
Huh?
but I sure.
Sorry.
Hey.
Okay, awesome. We all hope so as well.
Great.
Wonderful people. This has been having you both has been exactly what I expected. Effie trying to have serious answers, and you Slack just being Slacks, which is why we love you. I have actually rewatched the Monkey Business show that you came live, and oh my god, you saved me. The whole
you
Monkey
talking
Business
about?
show was so boring until the Slack came in, and I was like, okay,
don't
then
be
we're
like
fine.
that. No,
It was good.
Fine.
I have insight about how much I suck.
No.
One day people will realize that I'm only doing the Monkey Business show, so
No,
Johan can do
no.
it. I'm the
Jay.
conduit, you know.
Do
Stop.
we
Grand
need
confluence.
another
Jay,
group
stop
therapy
it.
session? I'm hearing a lot of
Maybe-
self-deprecation.
maybe no
I'm
joke.
not liking it. I'm not vibing
Wow.
with it.
I am a caster
Come
now.
on
I'm officially Dota talent. This is how you guys
That's
speak all the time, you know?
If you want to make it into the cabal, we need you to pick up your self-confidence a little bit, okay? Or you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
stay
life
on the
banned
cabal,
from all
throwing,
events.
throwing bananas to the monkey.
Do you want to end up like Cap, or do you want to develop some self-confidence? Okay. The cabal doesn't like this. We don't like this.
Well, I hope that we get to do this in person one day, maybe at TI, because we all go to TI. Do you have your visa for TI, Evie?
I
That
can't.
should
I
be
can't
okay,
start
right?
the visa process until I get an invite, so I don't know if that's happening yet.
If you get an invite
From Valve,
from
yeah,
them.
they send the invite, and then I. And then,
Valve?
Okay, we'll talk about it also
Okay.
outside of the podcast. Yeah, you're going to TI. You just don't know it yet. All right,
Do
awesome.
you know this? Am I going to TI? Can you?
No, like because if she's not going to TI, I'm gonna bring her to the monkey business show. So
Oh,
she will
okay.
get to go to TI if she wants, you know.
Yay!
That's great.
You're
Yay.
in, girl.
One of us. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time and for canceling yesterday. And yeah, love to see
I'm
your
sorry I
wonderful faces soon.
Yes.
No worries, dude.
All
It's
right.
like see you in a few days there, and Effie, I hope to see you soon as well. Maybe in another part of the region,
Woo!
very east from me.
Thank you guys. I had a lot of
Yay!
fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's sort of like you can't learn the right way to feel because no matter what happens, you're being given the same feedback. So your mind has not learned how to sort of differentiate between like pride and shame.
Yeah, the topic is really just what I want to improve on.
What do I want to improve on? Welcome, friend.
Well, thank you.
And what do you go by?
I go by Josh _OW on Discord, but I mainly just go by Josh.
Okay. So Josh, what do you want to improve on?
Well, I want to improve on feeling proud of myself because whenever I work hard and do everything I can to work towards something and succeed, I don't feel proud of myself or my accomplishments or the effort that I even put into getting the end result. And so I thought that maybe I would someday just like wake up and feel happy and just ecstatic and incredible about knowing that I put in so much work and effort to accomplish something that mattered, but it just doesn't end up that way, whether I succeed or fail, and it just kind of feels empty to me.
Wow, that sounds tough, dude. So let me just make sure I'm hearing you correctly. So it sounds like you do put in effort, you work hard, and you don't always succeed, but sometimes you succeed.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out, and so help me understand, how do you feel about yourself when you do succeed?
Well, I guess, I don't know. Maybe whenever I succeed, because I actually managed to go out for runs and exercises sometimes and even do my homework because I'm in college and all that. But even when I succeed and do all that, I guess I just kind of feel maybe it's more so content. I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I got that done. That's good. Now I just don't have to like stress about the rest of my day knowing that I did something, I guess, that was productive. I don't really feel ecstatic about it.
I see.
Just kind of.
So what I'm hearing is that you kind of feel maybe relieved, like you don't have to worry about that anymore, but you don't feel any sense of pride?
Yeah.
Do you think what you've accomplished is noteworthy?
I think it has been noteworthy, yeah, because I mean it's like I like I'm regularly working out, right? And I even go out for runs often, and that just has actually been kind of enjoyable to do, just the process.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like, I don't know, I feel less stressed out during my days as a result, and then I'm able to have better control over doing the things that I know I need to do, but it just kind of I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a big giant hallmark like I sometimes wish it would. As in, oh yeah, now I'm moving forward in my life. Now I'm doing it. I'm on the grind. It just doesn't feel maybe euphoric or as amazing as I thought it'd be.
Yeah, so I'm almost hearing that when you okay, let me make a couple of assumptions here, Josh, and you let me know if these are accurate. So the first is that prior to working out consistently, you sort of had this idea that if you started working out consistently, you would like feel really good about yourself. You're like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And now that you're doing it, you don't really feel the pride that you were expecting.
No. No.
Do you feel proud about anything?
I've been thinking about that question a little bit, but I wonder if I ever felt any sort of pride in my life at all. I mean, I don't know if it's anything like pride, but whenever that comes to mind, all I can think about are the times where I was part of something that I had to do with a whole group of people that I had to get to know. Like there was a time when I was in baseball and I was in junior leagues for that, and I just felt I guess I felt so alive whenever I was just with my teammates and I got to bond with them and practice with them and do scrimmages, and that just felt really invigorating. Like that was just a part of my life that I've been missing all along, was like camaraderie. But I guess I felt pride. Maybe I did feel pride more so just in what I was able to accomplish in terms of what my team accomplished, but not me. Because it wasn't about me. I just felt pride, I guess, maybe towards my team and the things that we were able to do and how far we were able to go. Things like that.
Okay, so I'm hearing that the only thing that you were able to take pride in was something that was a team effort. And even when you talk about the team effort, you almost purposely exclude yourself as a contributor.
Yeah, and the only time that I ever considered being a big part of that whole process was when they directly actually, because we had a championship game like at the very end of our league, and we ended up losing it like horrifically. We just got absolutely destroyed. But then we had a party or get together afterwards to celebrate how far we came, and they gave me a whole trophy for just for how much I meant to them, for how much I meant to the team, and it's called the Heart Award, right? It's like a whole acronym about like having heart, endurance, attitude, respect, and team. And they gave it to me last out of everyone else's trophies, and I remember that because I was like, man, I feel so appreciated, you know, because my efforts, my attitude actually meant something, you know, and it made a positive impact in their lives. And they really, and I was the heart and soul of the team. And knowing that, like, I never felt that way during the season, but it was only at that moment afterwards when they gave me that award that I felt like I was just really, really happy. It just felt amazing.
Wow. How are you feeling sharing this story?
I mean, I'm just recalling like that moment. I mean, I just feel, I don't know. I just feel like it just feels like bliss or happiness, because then it just calls back to all the highs and lows that we've been through together, and the things that we've done, and just what we said and did, and just what we went through, and just how that all culminated into that moment where I got that trophy. It felt like it was worth it. It felt like that it was deserved or earned, and that just felt like that was the proper ending to an amazing story, I guess.
Sounds boss, dude. Sounds
Sure
like
was.
absolute boss. So let me ask you something. When Josh, can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing?
Yeah, of course. So generally, the way I understand it now is I was kind of brought up as a and treated as sort of a special or gifted kid, right? So I just grew up with me, my mom, my biological parents, of course, and one older brother. And I I've always just been kind of an introverted, kind of shy, but kind of kind kid, you know. And then I grew up as the years went on. My parents and teachers and other older adults or peers of mine would be like, "Man, Josh, you're just such a kind and smart kid. Like you're gonna be able to do great things, man." And then that just kept going on and on for years until especially I got into like junior high or high school when it felt like it was more of an insidious thing to me because I felt like my parents and all the other peers and adults that were around me telling me these great things, it just felt like I had to be the chosen one, right? I felt like I was like Anakin Skywalker, okay? And I had to be the one to be able to save the world and bring balance and just do all these great things because I was just so great, unlike anyone else, like the Avatar. And it felt like I had to just be that guy. And whenever I faced struggles and was human and failed and fell flat on my face, those times just absolutely decimated me mentally because I felt like I had to keep people keep people believing that I was the guy, that I was the chosen one. And then when I wasn't, and I failed, then I was just, who was I at that point? I'm just some loser going through high school, doesn't know what they're doing with their life.
Okay. So
And then
it sounds like you've been carrying around a lot of expectation.
Yeah.
Now, so when you did well, what did your mom, parents say, teachers say? Like, let's say like you're 8 years old and you get an A on a test. How do they respond?
I mean, pretty much the same way. They're like, "Oh, wow, Josh, like you made an A on the test. Like, man, you're so freaking good at like math or whatever. Like, you just like I'm so proud of you. I love you, man." And then I'm like, "Thanks."
And
I guess. But then I'm like,
how would
cool.
you feel?
Well, I would just feel like, oh, yeah, I guess I got 100 on it. Like, I guess that's something. Yeah, whatever.
Okay. So, okay. Can I think for a second, Josh?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know how to feel pride?
I'm pretty sure I don't.
How do you understand that?
Probably because I never had an experience where I personally, within my being, feel and recognize what pride is even like, especially in myself. It's just kind of like a foreign entity to me, I guess.
Yeah, so let's try to understand this, okay? So so let's start with this idea of being gifted. So what I'm kind of noticing is that, like, let's say getting 100 on a test is something that many people would be proud of. Whereas what I'm noticing is that, like, because you were kind of gifted, there was an expectation that you would do well. So even if you get 100 on the test, that's not something to be proud of. That's like baseline. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like, it kind of like is tricky because if we expect you to get 100, the most you can do is meet expectations. Sometimes you're going to fall short of expectations, but you can't really exceed expectations. And when we really think about like, what are we proud of? We're not proud of doing average, we're proud of doing exceptional. But if your expectations are so high, how can you ever be exceptional?
Yeah.
Does that?
And I would like to add something tidbit that I think is really important as well. If you don't mind.
Please.
That whenever that complex became more of a thing, whenever I was growing up in high school and junior high, like even when I would fail, like my parents especially would be like, "Well, yeah, no worries, man. Like you failed, you can try again and you can do better." And even whenever they gave me that kind of feedback, it just kind of was too late, and it's cemented in my mind where I thought to myself, I put it on myself where I was like, no, I need to be better. Like I need to be the chosen gifted one, right? Even if everyone else says so, I don't think so.
How did
I felt like
how did you feel when they said that?
I don't know. I just, maybe it depended on the situation, but either I was kind of like, yeah, I guess I failed, it's whatever, or I was just absolutely devastated and I beat myself up.
And when your
for how I
parents said,
failed.
it's okay, you can try again later, how did that make you feel?
Just made me feel like an absolute, like a failure. Like I just,
So it's kind of interesting,
Like
right?
that, like
Because your parents are saying things that should be encouraging, but what effect does it have on you?
not a positive one. Just kind of,
Yeah, like how do you
No
understand
effect.
that? Like, so, okay, your kid does poorly, right? So you're a parent and you say, it's okay, you can try again. How do you understand, like, how does that make a child feel worse?
you know, that's a good question. I'm not really sure I even have the answer to that.
Is that how you felt?
Well, yeah, it was.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's kind of weird. So, Josh, I think I think we can sort of sort this out. First of all, sorry, I don't mean to laugh because your situation is serious, but I think that there's like a couple of interesting things going on. And I think a lot of it has to do with expectation. So oftentimes as gifted kids, when you grow up, like you're given all these expectations, right? And you internalize these expectations. Like I'm supposed to do really well. And it's kind of weird, but oddly enough, your parents were dismissive of your shame. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
feel accurate to you?
I think so. Yeah,
Like-
because they never really. Yeah.
Right. So I know it sounds kind of weird because when we think about parents, we think about like, oh, like isn't dismissing shame a bad thing? I mean, isn't it a good thing? Like, don't we like not want, like if our kid does poorly, like don't I want to encourage him and like help him not feel shame anymore? So the interesting thing there is I'm sort of noticing that like in your upbringing, you were kind of like not allowed the range of success, right? So even when you failed, they sort of dismissed that. And then like, even when you succeeded, that was sort of expected. So I'm sort of noticing that I almost think about shame and pride as two sides of the same coin. Like in order to be ashamed of something, like, you know, you can be proud of the same things that you could be ashamed of. If you did well, like you can maybe be proud of that. If you did poorly, like you can feel ashamed of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're like kind of like the same, like on the same spectrum, but just at opposite ends of the spectrum, like shame and pride. With me? So,
Yeah.
so the really interesting thing here is that I think it's kind of interesting that they dismissed your shame, and they tried to like help you feel better about yourself, but somewhere along the way, I think they just sort of like started communicating on a level that you were just not on. Like, I don't mean that they were above you or below you. I just mean that y'all were like operating on different wavelengths in terms of like achievement and lack of achievement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I imagine it's actually quite confusing for a child to grow up in that situation. So like, let me just put it to you this way. Like, if I do poorly on a test and my parents are like, it's okay, there's no problem with that, you'll be fine because you're so smart. It's kind of weird because what they're telling me doesn't actually mirror like reality, right? Like if I did poorly, like they're not saying, hey, you did poorly. You know, you should really like think about trying better next time. Or like, let's think about what you could have done better. Does that make sense? Like they're not saying that. They're sort of like even when you do poorly, they're not like validating the fact that you did poorly. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of swept to the wayside.
Exactly,
so I
right?
would say it is. Yeah.
And then even in periods of time when you should be proud, right? And your parents are like, they're giving you positive feedback. But like the thing is, you have high expectations on yourself, and also the feedback they give you when you're doing well and the feedback they give you when you're doing poorly actually seems kind of the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? And so like I don't know if this is kind of if I'm making sense here, but it's sort of weird because like as a child, if they're saying, oh, you're so smart, everything will be fine when you do well, and oh, you're so smart, everything will be fine when you do poorly, it's like, how does that child learn what to be proud of and what to be ashamed of? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just confusing. You get the same thing either way.
Exactly. Right? It's confusing. Like you're getting the same thing every way. And so what I think may have actually happened is like, I don't know that you were like, you know how to feel proud. I mean, you do, and we'll get there in a second. But the first thing that I want to share with you is I don't think that this is like, it's sort of like you can't learn the right way to feel because no matter what happens, you're being given the same feedback. So your mind has not learned how to sort of differentiate between like pride and shame. Does that, I mean, I hear that you know how to feel shame and you know how to feel pride. So like, but is this sort of resonating with you, or you think I'm kind of like in the wrong ballpark?
I think that's actually pretty accurate. Yeah.
So what I'm sort of hearing from you is that like you don't know how to feel pride. And I know it sounds kind of weird because normally we're actually like taught how to feel pride. And a key thing about how to feel proud is like, even if I'm going to kind of give you an example, which is like, let's say that I'm an overly optimistic, protective parent. Like I'm a helicopter parent who thinks that my child is Jesus Christ reincarnated. Plus, with the spirituality of Jesus Christ, with the mind of Stephen Hawking, and the physical form of, let's say, Michael Phelps. Okay, if you know who those people are.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like I have the uber child, the most amazing child in the world. And I am constantly telling that child, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're perfect, you're amazing, everyone, you're just the best thing ever. How do you think that child feels about themselves?
I mean, they'd be like, yeah, that's just my bottom line. Like, I guess I'm just amazing.
Right. So like they're going to grow up sort of feeling amazing about themselves, but if you really like think about those kids, they actually have like they're very insecure. Right? I don't know if you've known kids like this, but like kids who are grow up in a situation where their parents are like overly supportive, they're like very easily threatened and like become insecure very easily. Oftentimes they'll grow up as bullies. I don't know if you've had like any, is this kind of have you known people like that? Maybe you are someone like that, but, and it's sort of like just providing overwhelming positive feedback without any kind of like negative correction does not raise like a healthy amount of pride and self-confidence in a child. It raises things like arrogance. And underneath the arrogance is insecurity. Like my point here is that when children aren't given both sides of the coin, and I think that's what sort of happened with you, you sort of like, I don't get the sense that you even know what to be proud of. Because you have like such high expectations of yourself, and like people haven't, oddly enough, even validated when you did poorly. And this sort of results in something that's kind of interesting, which is Why do you think you felt so much pride by getting the heart trophy?
Because whenever I was with that team, and it's a whole sport where you have to rely on your teammates. You can't just do everything yourself. And then whenever an outside party like that and people you get to know and trust just openly just accept you for who you are and then reward you for that, then it just felt amazing because I was accepted. And they know that I failed as well because we all did. Like, we were all there together. And no matter what, like, we still stuck together as a team. And that couldn't be said. I even remember that couldn't be said for most teams that were in that same league at the time. Like, even my best friend's, like, mom, who my best friend was also in baseball at the time doing the same thing. Like, even his team apparently didn't have that kind of, like, bond or synergy that my team had.
So I think there are a couple of other important elements there, right? So one is, as you mentioned, the acceptance despite the failure. So this is kind of interesting because that kind of sidesteps expectation. Does that make sense? Like, because your mind has come to expect particular things. And so when you get praised for something, and the other thing is, like, you haven't been praised your entire life for being the heart and soul of other people. You've been praised for being gifted. And so, like, what is it like to get praise in an area where you didn't think that's something you were capable of? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So, because what I'm noticing is that what really feels very like what you can take pride in is actually things that were free from your expectations. It's when other human beings saw value in you in a way that you did not expect value from yourself.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, do you have any thoughts about how to approach this?
You know, and I have to preface, I really do love LV Gamer, and I've watched so many of their VODs and streams. It's a wonderful place. But what would come to mind for me, I don't know, is just somehow free myself from those kinds of expectations. But I don't really know how to apply something like that to my situation. It just
makes perfect sense. I think it's challenging. Yeah. I think you've got the right answer, and we're going to help you with the how. Okay? So the first thing is that, as you mentioned, so I think a lot of this has to do with expectations. Because the problem is the expectations you put on yourself make it so that you've got two options. You can, where perfection is the bare minimum, right? Which is like, how can you ever feel proud if perfection gets you sort of a bare minimum pat on the back? And then you can also fall short. So there are a couple of different things. I think what we can try to do is rectify a lot of like what you've missed out on. So interestingly enough, the first thing that we can try to do is have a place that validates your shame. I know it sounds kind of weird, right? So like practically finding some kind of friend, or I don't know if you're in mental health treatment or you're working with a coach or whatever, but like, I think, I know it sounds kind of weird, but like, I think one thing that's missing here is that if we kind of assume that this is like, your brain doesn't really know what pride feels like, I think a key part of that is in helping validate actually when you do poorly. The interesting thing is that when we validate, okay, John, you didn't do a great job, and you really could do better, and I want you to work like extra hard if you're willing to, and then like give it another shot. If someone said that to you, and you actually gave it another shot when you succeeded, how do you think you would feel about yourself?
I think I may actually feel more pride in myself.
100%. Right? And why is that?
Because they knew what I went through and the failures that I had experienced in order to eventually try again and then.
Absolutely, right? Because then your effort means something. Like before when they're like, oh, you'll get it. Like, no big deal. Oh, it's fine. You got this. Easy. Easy clap. And then it's like, even if you work your ass off, it's like they expected it to be easy for you. So there's no acknowledgement of your effort. And so, like, if there's no acknowledgement of your effort, if no one else recognizes the effort that you're putting in, you're putting in all this effort, and everyone else is like, by the way, this should be easy, bro, because you're so gifted. Then when you succeed, it's like, what am I supposed to... It was so hard for me to accomplish what everyone else is saying is easy. How on earth am I supposed to take pride in this? Tell me.
I can't.
Absolutely. You work out every day. Or you work out a lot consistently, you said. You go running.
Yeah.
Is this an achievement?
This is kind of like, like that cool.
Is it hard for you to do that?
Well, yeah, just force myself to get out and do something instead of like playing games or whatever. Like, it's not an easy thing to do.
Okay. So like that's what I want you to focus on, right? So I know it sounds kind of weird, but validate. You can start by validating how hard some of these things are for you. You can validate how a year ago or 2 years ago, like, you know, you weren't doing this every day. So that's number one. Second thing is if you want to let go of expectations, I think, especially if you can do this in the community, I think you've got to open yourself up to feedback in dimensions that you're not gifted. Now, this can be a little bit tricky, but like, I don't know, like I think Heart and Soul is beautiful because it's like the kind of thing that you didn't expect from yourself, right? So one thing is you can let go of your expectations. We'll get to that in a second. Or what you can do is start operating in your area, in areas where your expectations don't apply. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like that's a little bit tricky. Like what is that? And that's where I'd say like if you're viewing yourself as a gifted kid, then I would really do stuff that's like a little bit more like volunteer oriented or charitable, because I think those are the kinds of places where I'm not hearing that someone said that, you know, you are an amazing human being all the time and all this kind of stuff. So I'd say that like you don't have to let go of your expectations. You can just operate in places outside of them. And we already have evidence of that, right? So we know that when there's a community endeavor where people can value you, like in a way that you don't necessarily value yourself, that's what's going to make you feel proud. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they wouldn't be expecting that from me. Or
and more importantly,
like
you're not expecting it from you.
Yeah.
Right?
That too.
So like operate in places that are free from expectation. So I'd say very, very concretely, if it's community oriented, I think that's ideal. It sounds like you're in college. So like, I think if you want to do some volunteer work or something like that, like go work at a homeless shelter, go work at an animal shelter, like go and do something where you're just trying to make the world a better place. Like you're just going to go and try to like help people that you care about. And I think that would actually hopefully help. But that's kind of tricky because you have to like, don't go in with too much expectation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you gotta be a little bit careful. And then the last thing in terms of letting go of expectation, I think that's where you really have to like probably do some more deeper work. So I'd say like start with number 1 and number 2, which is pretty easy, which is like, first of all, have people validate your struggles or even your shame, right? So that's going to be really, really important. And then the cool thing is if they can validate your struggles and your shame, like then you can feel proud. Like it's kind of weird. Second thing is do some community is in have groups of people, and then also something that like you're not expecting a lot from yourself. So I would not suggest that you go and maybe you can, maybe something like if you're like a math tutor, but like, you know, try to steer clear of like intellectual activities where just ask yourself, if I did a good job at this, would that be the bare minimum? Like, is that what I expect? Or could I actually take pride in this? Kind of just ask yourself, right? Like, do I view myself as gifted in this way? And if the answer is no, then you should move towards that activity. The tricky thing here that you've got to watch out for is that oftentimes gifted kids avoid the things that they're not gifted in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you explain it a little bit or how you understand it?
Well, yeah, because if I like on some conscious or unconscious level just understand that I look at something and think, oh man, I'm really gonna suck at that. Like I don't want to do that because I'm gonna suck at it. Then I don't want to be viewed as or view myself as being a loser in that. Because then
Perfect.
I'll feel bad.
Perfect, right? So that's where I think the antidote there is that, you know, the reason that you're volunteering, let's say, is not, you don't really care about, I mean, you will care. There's a part of your mind, your ego will care about how you're perceived, but you're going to go there to like try to make another human being's life a little bit better for like one day at a time. Does that kind of make sense? So I want you to kind of let go of yourself a little bit and like go and do something that you can take pride in, but you're really there to help someone else. It's not really about your self-image. So that's going to be like one tip that you can sort of use to try to do things outside of your comfort zone. And then the last thing is letting go of expectations, which is where I think, like I mentioned, you need to do a little bit of deeper work where you've really got to start to ask yourself, you know, like, when did I start to view myself as gifted? What impact has it had on me? You know, potentially even have a conversation with your parents about, you know, how like actually you've struggled a fair amount and like it's been hard for you to hear that everything is going to be okay because sometimes things actually weren't okay. Right? And like what I'm really hearing from you is that lots of people told you that things were going to be okay when actually you were struggling. And that sounds incredibly isolating to me. That sounds to me like you really were not seen at all. And in fact, what was happening is people were conjuring an image of what they thought you to be instead of actually seeing who you are. How does that sit with you?
Yeah. I think that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And so the way to let go of expectations is to really sit with, you know, Josh, what is the image of you and who are you? And if you're open, we can give that a stab now, but, you know, I'm not expecting a whole lot because it's a complicated question. Usually this is the kind of question that I would ask after someone had done weeks or months of work. But do you want to try answering that now, or you want to just sort of work on that kind of on your own?
Oh, I'm absolutely down to it now.
So let me ask you, what is the image of Josh?
Well, I guess Josh is just some dude that's out there somehow trying to make, or that wants to somehow try and make the world a better place, I guess. You know?
Is that the image that other people see?
Nope.
What do
Not
other
really.
people see?
I guess they're more like, oh yeah, it's just some other dude named Josh. Like I guess he seems like he might know what he's doing. He seems like a pretty insightful or smart guy. Yeah.
Okay, so when they look at you, they see someone who's insightful, capable.
Yeah.
Does the Josh, when they see this is hopefully a good example, when they see Josh working out consistently, do they think that Josh struggles to work out, or do they think he's highly motivated?
Well, they would probably think that I'm just disciplined. It's easy.
Right? So, the image of Josh is insightful, capable, disciplined, gifted. And what is it like to actually be Josh?
It's like, man, I really want to play Overwatch, but man, I got homework to do. Let's do it at like 12. All right, I guess I'll go and do problems or something. Gosh.
Josh, are you smiling right now?
Yeah, because that's actually my situation right now.
And how does it
I
feel?
got work to do, and I'm eventually going to do it.
How does it feel to be that person?
It just feels kind of funny to think that I'm like a balloon, like a bumbling buffoon, just being like, oh, stop it, no, gotta get the, okay, let's get to the work. You know, just bumbling around until I get to where I need to go.
Yeah. Right? And so let me ask you,
Yeah.
who deserves to take more pride? The bumbling balloon who like struggles with themselves and eventually floats in the right direction, right? Bounces themselves towards working out and doing homework and stuff like that. Or someone who's like, oh, Josh, this new fragrance by Josh makes you insightful, capable, disciplined.
So, yeah, no, definitely the balloon guy.
Right.
Because he's just trolling, you know? Like, he doesn't care. He's doing whatever.
So, I mean, hopefully that helps you some, but I think that just like sit with those two images and recognize that, like, actually, you may not be as gifted as you think you are. And bizarrely, that may mean that you can take pride in what you've accomplished, because the truth of the matter is that your life, like, even though you have certain advantages, and we're not saying that you don't have advantages, there are like genuine things that you struggle with, right? And consistently working out means fighting 1,000 small battles with yourself and winning at those small battles. But man, like each inch of territory that you gain when fighting against yourself, like each inch you've paid for with sweat and blood and tears and Overwatch rating. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's like, not only do I work out, like I even like practice like some yoga in the morning. Like I get up at 4:30. I go to sleep at like 6, 7, wake up, and then immediately after I do that, I meditate and then study my class, you know, so I can get ahead and know what I'm doing. Even then, like sometimes it just doesn't, those accomplishments don't really compound.
How do you feel about waking up at 4:30 in the morning? How does it, actually, let me ask this. How does it feel to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, do yoga, start studying?
Well, it kind of sucks.
Yeah,
Because I'm like,
man. Tell me about it.
I just want to sleep. Like I just want to sleep, and I look at my clock on my phone, like, oh, it's 4:32. All right, I guess I'll get out of bed, because otherwise I'm not gonna get food or whatever. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Dude, it sounds
Feel
hard.
reluctant.
It sounds like you're trying to force yourself into building a better life for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Because like before, and this is a little personal, but it's not too graphic or anything. Like my grandpa recently, unfortunately, passed away, right? And then whenever I went to his funeral and I mourned for him, like everyone else may have just been feeling just sadness and grief and all that. Like I felt like a grief of a sort of sense of, and we're Christian, our family's like like Christian primarily and all that, and I was like thinking to myself, please God, just let me be a stronger person, you know, let me be more capable so I can actually make the world a better place and not let all these efforts that my grandpa or anyone else went through go to waste. Make it worth it.
Yeah, so I think can be healthy to ask for strength. And also, I would encourage you to recognize, Josh, that you've probably been given that which you've asked for. And the only thing that really gets in the way of seeing it is your own ego.
Yeah, probably.
So just spend some time with who the real Josh is versus the image of Josh. And hopefully as you kind of navigate that, maybe if you're a little bit lucky, you could start to feel a little bit of pride in waking up at 4:30 every day. You know, being grateful to yourself for working this hard, right? Even if pride isn't really there yet, maybe you can start with some gratitude, right? So like at least like hopefully your grades are getting better and you're starting to get in shape and things like that. And you can be grateful to yourself for putting in the effort.
Yeah, 100%. I totally want to do that.
Well, good luck to you, Josh. Any questions or last thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, on a completely unrelated note, I recently watched one of the videos that was posted on the YouTube channel, and it was about how change occurs, and that was just really insightful, and I want to keep applying that to the rest of my life too, so I can figure out how to learn and do all that and just improve. And it's just been really helpful.
Can you give us a
I love-
TLDR on the video? I'm not actually.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. So basically, what it's about is like, you read a Reddit post, which was a GIF of like, basically this person saying, "Oh yeah, well, I know darn well that I should be making change while they're watching your videos, but they're not able to, and they still don't do anything about it." And then you're like, "Yeah, well, you technically don't really need to do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
You really just do the work in your head." And I thought that was weird at first when I heard that, and then I kept watching them, and it was just really insightful because then those suggestions you gave in that video about sitting on what you learned and reflecting on it, I actually did that when I walked into my backyard, like right after I finished the video, and
Hey.
it made me think about how I wanted to. When I played Overwatch a few years ago, and I climbed to like the top elo or one of the top elos in the game, that's exactly what I did in order to get better at the game.
Yeah.
Like, I watched VODs, I studied pro players and what they did and compared that to what I was doing, and I just got better at it, and I improved on what I needed to get better at, even though I suck.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks for jogging my memory. Yeah. So it's surprising how people don't realize that most of change is like internal, and we also don't really we don't really acknowledge that unless we like we can intentionally facilitate the process of change, which I think is also the same as learning, right? So if we kind of think about like, if I'm stuck in the same pattern over and over and over again, I'll even use the phrase, "Oh, like, why do I never learn?" And there are actually some interesting things you can do to facilitate learning. One of which is reflection. So thanks for sharing, and I'm glad that the video was able to help you. Good luck to you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I love it.
Thanks, man.
It's an amazing place.
Thanks for contributing.
My pleasure.
All right, so let's just take a quick moment to recap, because I think there's a lot of stuff about Josh's situation that is actually quite applicable. So sometimes we have difficulty taking pride in stuff, which is kind of weird because we just sort of assume that everyone knows how to take pride in stuff, right? Like, it's an emotion. So shouldn't everyone be capable of feeling pride? The interesting thing is that some of us actually grow up in a situation where, based on how certain behaviors are reinforced, what kind of feedback we get, it's actually like very hard to take pride in your accomplishments. And so there are a couple of key things that we can see from this situation. The first is sort of growing up as a gifted kid. Because if you grow up as a gifted kid, even if you excel, that is actually the bare minimum of what is expected of you, right? So it's kind of interesting because if we think about like performance, like if I perform at this level, or if this is the performance that's expected of me, and then I perform up here instead, this is the window that I can take pride in, right? Because like, this is what I was expected to do, and I actually ended up way over here, so I should be proud of like overperforming. The interesting thing, so if we kind of think about it, if expectations are at the ceiling, right? If we're gifted and we're so intelligent and like, oh, like getting an A is so easy for us, then actually what happens is it's very hard for us to feel pride. Because expectations are so high, the best we can do is meet the minimum expectation. The interesting thing is that the other side of the coin is also present, where oftentimes gifted kids, not just gifted kids, but especially gifted kids, even when they do poorly, they're not, the shame they feel, the negativity they feel is oftentimes swept under the rug. And so like, instead of your parents telling you, oh, that was really hard for you, you know, like, oh, like it sounded like that, you know, you really struggled there. Sometimes what'll happen is parents don't want to be negative towards their kids, so they'll try to be reassuring. So when I'm reassuring, I'll say things like, oh, like, you'll be fine next time. Don't worry about it. You got a B. I'm sure you're going to get an A. It's no big deal. You're smart. You'll figure it out. The interesting thing about that kind of reassurance is that it's actually invalidating. Because in that moment, when the kid really, really struggled to study and wound up with a B, or maybe they did study and they studied very hard and they still got a B. instead of acknowledging that struggle, what we do is we kind of sweep it away, right? Oh, everything will be fine. And interestingly enough, by invalidating the struggles that gifted kids actually face, we don't give them an opportunity to like improve and triumph. Because even if they struggled and got a B, and I say, oh, it's totally fine, you'll get an A, it's not a big deal. And then if they study twice as hard and they get an A, is it a big deal? Have you progressed? Have you done a better job? Is this something to be proud of? Oh, no, these are just the expectations. So interestingly enough, the inability for some people's lack of experiencing kind of like validation when they struggle also makes it hard for them to feel pride. Because if I say to you, oh, that was actually really hard, you know, I know you struggled a lot. I really hope you can try again. And like, I'm going to try to help you. And I know it's going to be tough, but I believe that you can do it. And when we acknowledge the struggle, and then when they improve, things actually change, right? Because then I can take pride in it. But by sweeping the difficulties that some people face under the rug, like we sort of take away their ability to like grow and triumph and take pride in that. And so oddly enough, sometimes we don't really know how to feel pride. And the last thing to consider when it comes to not knowing how to feel pride is if this stuff has happened to you, think about the expectations you place on yourself. Because if you internalize those expectations, then even doing a good job is not pride-worthy. Doing a good job is the minimum. The only thing that you can take pride in is if you did exceptionally well, right? Because that's what you expect from yourself. You expect from yourself the absolute best. And so very, very relatable, very, very common issue, surprisingly. And like more and more people experience this, but then we sort of like don't even recognize for a moment that pride is something that we learn how to feel in our upbringing based on certain experiences that we have. And if you haven't had those experiences, if your difficulties were swept away, if your expectations were really, really high, sometimes we end up with young adults or adults who actually like kind of don't know how to feel pride, even when they do a good job.
For anybody who hasn't been keeping up with this, this guy, JT, It's All Business, apparently it's not all business to Blizzard, because JT spent over $100,000 on Diablo Immortal, and he has ascended so far into the stratosphere. He is now in space. He has effectively beaten a free-to-play game, something that people thought was impossible, because no person spent that much money before. He's effectively spent so much money. He has whaled so hard. He's whaled himself onto shore. He has beached himself. And to be honest, Blizzard probably should fix this. They should have some way. Like, he should not be able to do that. There should be some sort of mechanism that allows him to continue playing the game. So while it's funny to meme on this guy because it's a whale, right? And so it's like, haha, beached whale, he beached himself. It's funny. Yes, it is funny. However, it's still not fair.
What's going on, guys? This is JT here. In this video, we're going to be talking about the reaction video Asmongold made towards the video that I made, which is kind of crazy. I normally don't do reaction videos like this, but it's freaking Asmongold,
I do.
Right?
It's sort of like you can't learn the right way to feel because no matter what. And then people get really frustrated with themselves because even though they know logically that they should change, they're not really addressing their internal conflict. Me watching Healthy Gamer GG, knowing damn well I'm not doing anything to improve my life. So sometimes there is content on the internet designed to help you improve your life. And do you know who makes content designed to help you improve your life? We do. And you watch the content and you even see other people who will post on things like subreddit with wins, and other people will say, I'm making progress. We had a great, post the other day where people were like, does anyone actually, like, who works on themselves, does anyone actually found a partner? And people were like, yes, we have. So there are people out there, like, so you're watching the content that's designed to help your life. And there are people out there that are actually doing stuff about it. But all you're doing is just watching and you're not doing anything about it. And so then you're kind of like, now what? Like, it's one thing to start watching the right content. It's another thing to actually change your life. So this is kind of interesting, because you may think that my response to this is going to be, okay, cool, awesome. Dr. K is now going to teach me how to not just watch things and do stuff instead, right? Because that's what I need. What I really need is to learn how to do stuff instead of just watching stuff. Not going to do that. Nope. What I'm going to teach you today is even better than that. It's how to change your life without doing anything. Without doing a damn thing. How to just watch and do nothing and still improve your life. Now, you may think to yourself, this is insane. But we're going to explain this to y'all. And what this comes down to is the science of learning and the science of change. So let's take a big step back. Okay, big step back. How do people change? If you want to change, let's start by understanding how people change. And is doing stuff how people change? Hold on a second, let's think about that, right? So, doing stuff is not how people change. It's what it looks like after you change. Do y'all get that? The doing stuff comes after the change, not before the change. So this is really great, because if you're just a watcher, you can actually change, and then you can start doing stuff. But all you have to do is watch. And so let's understand this a little bit, okay? It's cool, because we actually have really great science on this. So let's first start by understanding, what do we mean by the word change? What does it mean to change? So what I'm going to do is make sort of a leap, which I think is a fair leap to make. I'm going to substitute the word change with the word learn. So if we look at, like, fundamentally in our brain, what parts of our brain govern changing? It's the same parts of our brain that govern learning, right? So I'll give you a simple example. Let's say that I burn my hand on a hot stove. Next time around, do I burn my hand again? No, I've changed my behavior. What circuits in the brain govern that kind of change? The learning circuits of the brain, right? So we'll sort of like, and we're going to take a step back also and look at another sort of dimension, which is this concept of the stages of change model, which we use in addiction treatment. So what tends to happen is, if someone's struggling with an addiction, they'll try to go sober, right? So they make an attempt at a change and it doesn't work. They relapse. Then they try again and it doesn't work. Try again, doesn't work. And then one day, if you talk to them, this is actually what they'll say. I woke up on Monday morning and I was like, enough is enough. I'm done with this forever. No more. And then they get rid of all their alcohol and they never have another drink again. There's a little bit more to it than that. But if you actually talk to people who've become sober, this is the way that they will describe their sobriety. Not everyone, but it absolutely happens. Right? So if you even think about your own life, that's something that you started doing that you didn't used to do before. So maybe it's like drinking water instead of soda. Maybe it's like waking up on time. Maybe it's doing yoga. Maybe it's like installing a meditation app. Maybe it's like setting a boundary with your friends. Maybe it's like uninstalling a particular video game. Like, each and every one of us has made some kind of change in our lives. And if you really think about it, how did that happen? And chances are you were just sort of like, one day I kind of woke up and was like, okay, I'm done with this. And then you change. But what the hell? Like, how does that work? And so this is where it's kind of interesting. But there's a lot of like subconscious processing that needs to go on. And that's essentially the process of learning. So you like you know, you relapse once and you don't learn your lesson. You relapse again, you don't learn your lesson. You relapse a third time, you don't learn your lesson. The fourth time around, you relapse and you learn your lesson, and then your behavior changes. Even in our vocabulary, we have I didn't learn my lesson. What does that mean? That means I didn't change. Those two statements are synonymous. Do y'all get that? He never learns his lesson. She never learns her lesson. They never learn their lesson. So changing and learning are 100% synonymous, okay? So there are a couple things we're going to talk about changing first, then we're going to talk about learning. So in the stages of change, what we sort of realize is that in order to enact behavioral change, to actually change your behavior, there are a set of cognitive stages that you have to go through. This is almost like the Kubler-Ross, stages of grief, like denial and anger and bargaining. So we have a cognitive process that we kind of go through. So the first stage is pre-contemplative. Pre-contemplative means I'm not even thinking about it. I am not aware that there is a problem. Okay, so this is like I never realized that drinking alcohol was bad or playing video games are bad or whatever. I'm going to use addiction sort of as a backdrop for this, okay, context. But stages of change applies to everything from eating healthy to exercising, any kind of change that you want to make. So we don't even know it's a problem. So what's the solution? How do you work on someone who disagrees or is not aware that there's a problem? Do you give them a plan? Do you give them an advice? Do you say, here's 5 things you can do to improve your life? And then do they do those things? No. Because they don't have the motivation, because they're not actually they don't even think it's a problem. So they're sort of in denial. Or it's really lack of awareness, but it can sometimes be denial. So what is the solution for someone who is pre-contemplative? Not really even sure what the problem is. It's to challenge their assumptions. How do you challenge their assumptions? Through questions and information. So that's part of what we do. Right? So we'll sort of say, even at the beginning of this video, we were like, oh, great, Dr. K is going to teach me how to change. No, we're not going to teach you how to change. We're going to challenge your assumptions of how change happens. We're not going to get you to act at all. We're just going to explain something else. We're going to give you information. The interesting thing, the really cool thing, is that when you take pre-contemplative people, and it's not just information, it's really challenging assumptions. I can't give you research benefits of, okay, here are all the reasons you could change. That's not effective. It's to get people to challenge and understand their own thought process, to start thinking in a different way. Once you do that, once you start to challenge people's assumptions, which you can do through watching a video on the internet, by the way, then you move on to contemplative. And contemplative is where a lot of people get tripped up, because now you've realized that there's a problem. But the key hallmark of the contemplative phase is ambivalence, or internal conflict. I recognize now that video games cause problems in my life, but I really love playing them. But I don't know what else to do with my life. But I'm still unemployed and I don't know how to fill my days. But this. And then people get really frustrated with themselves because even though they know logically that they should change, they're not really addressing their internal conflict. So that's a whole different thing. And then once you work through that internal conflict, then you can change. Then you can actually start to act because I know I need to stop playing video games, but there's this other part of me that doesn't want to. So then I wake up every day, what do I actually do? I don't change. I'm one of these people who's just sitting here watching and not actually quitting something or starting something or changing. That's actually okay too. It takes time to get through that ambivalent conflict. Right? You don't just like logically snap out of it. It's like you have to work through that. It's almost like, I don't know if y'all have ever like looked at a menu and it's like, do I want this or do I want this? It's not like you suddenly snap to it, right? It's a very short abbreviated time, but it'll do 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Well, what if I like this? What if I don't like this? You go through this little mental process in about a minute or two, or maybe 5 minutes, where you're struggling to decide what you want because there's conflict within you. And then you resolve that in some way and you pick something. So even in a menu, and ordering something off a menu, you can understand ambivalence a little bit. Okay? Once you get through ambivalence, then you can start to act. My point here, though, is that the first two stages of the stages of change model are completely internal. You don't have to do a damn thing. It's in here. This is where change happens. So watching is actually okay. Now what we're going to do is teach y'all a little bit about learning. So if I'm watching a video, at the end of the video, there's a cool concept got me to question my assumptions, but I don't actually change. I haven't like learned my lesson. So how do you learn your lesson? How do you incorporate the stuff from the video? So I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Okay. What's the most effective way to study? Right? Because we know this. Like we can look at different options to understand literally how our brain learns. So let's say I've got 10 hours that I'm going to prepare for a test. Option number 1, I read the textbook for 10 hours. Option number 2, I read the textbook for 5 hours and I do practice questions for 5 hours. Which one is going to result in a better test score on average? Option 2, hands down. So this is really important to understand. We have a part of our brain called the hippocampus. Okay? Hippocampus is what takes short-term memory and compounds it into long-term memory. Once it's in long-term memory, we can access it and utilize it. So when something is in short-term memory, it doesn't really change our behavior. It really has to be like baked into us. And that happens in the hippocampus. By the way, also happens during sleep. Okay, is when we compound short-term memory into long-term memory. But the other key thing is that learning something involves practicing recall, not putting it in over and over and over and over and over again. So if you don't want to do anything to change, you actually don't need to. But if you want to change without doing a damn thing, which is actually, ironically, where most of the change happens. Most of the change happens without action. Right? Because who are you fighting against? You're fighting with yourself. You're fighting with your motivation. You're fighting with your lack of motivation, your laziness, your discipline. All the stuff is in here. So here are 3 things. Really simple. If you don't want to do a damn thing, 3 things you can do completely on your ass without doing anything. The first is don't chain watch informational content or motivational videos. So when you chain watch something, nothing ever gets put into long-term memory because you have a certain amount of RAM. And whenever you have like a certain amount of RAM, what starts happening is stuff starts getting overwritten. So we'll even I'll call this out explicitly in my interviews, and I also do this with patients. But what I've learned is when I teach someone something, or like in an interview, like why do we have interviews at about 2 hours instead of 3 hours? It's because by the 3rd hour, most people forget what happened in the first hour. And we don't want people to forget what happened in the first hour because it's not like what happened in the third hour is better than what happened in the first hour. So one of my favorite phrases from a spiritual guru is enough for today. Enough for today. You have only a certain amount of RAM. And if you really want to learn your lesson, you can't like keep learning new stuff. You have to like give it time to sink in. So don't chain watch informational videos or motivational videos or whatever. The more you replace your RAM, the less you're going to learn. So it's actually watch less stuff. Like you don't have to do anything, but just so if you watch something that you really think, "Oh wow, this could actually help me a lot," pause. Don't keep watching stuff. Okay? So don't chain watch. Don't overwrite your RAM. Let it go down into the hard drive. Second thing you've got to do is reflect. It's not a damn thing. It's not doing a damn thing. Reflect. What does that mean? We're going to mirror this process of, okay, I can read the textbook for 10 hours, or I can read the textbook and I can do practice questions. What is the equivalent of practice questions for changing? It's actually just reflection. So instead of chain watching videos, what you're going to do is watch one video and you're going to go sit somewhere. And you're not going to distract your mind with anything else, and you're going to reflect on what you watched. Not going to do anything. Just reflect. Practice recall. Okay, what did the video say? What do I think about that? What's right about the video? What's wrong about the video? Play with the information. So this is the other thing that we sort of know is that mastery within the human mind comes through experimentation. You can follow recipes as much as you want to, and you'll learn how to be a decent cook. But to be a chef that creates dishes, you have to play around with stuff. So if you want to change, you've got to play around with it in your mind. Okay, what about this do I accept? What about this do I not accept? The more that you recall that information out of your mind, the more it solidifies into learning and the more that change happens. So we see this principle. Playing around with the information is also what we do, for example, in coaching or in therapy. We challenge people's assumptions in coaching. Right? So it's not about treating a diagnosis or anything like that. If someone says, I'm stuck in this bad job and there's no way I can get out, we want to challenge those assumptions and we get people to reflect on their life. And as people challenge their assumptions and reflect on their life, I kid you not, and if you have worked with a coach, you can ask your coach this question. A lot of coaches will come in and will say, well, like this person, they're talking about this thing, but they just don't do it, and I want to push them, I want to push them. And what do we tell our coaches at that time? Should you push them? No, absolutely not. And inevitably what happens is the coach feels, I'm doing a bad job. Week 5, they're not making progress. Week 6, they're not making progress. Week 7, coach shows up and they're like, I don't know what the hell happened. They did it all. And seriously, if y'all have a coach, ask your coach if they've experienced this before. 99% chance they'll say yes. This is how change happens. It's like the iceberg, where most of that subconscious change happens underneath. The interesting thing is if your coach pushes you, what happens when you get pushed? A lot of people will dig their heels in. But when you create that vacuum of space, the client will step forward and do it. Right? Beautiful. So chat got it. So it's really hard to do the reflection work and to think about this kind of stuff. But that's actually all. You don't have to people to reflect on their life. And as people challenge their assumptions and reflect on their life, I kid you not, and if you have worked with a coach, you can ask your coach this question. A lot of coaches will come in and will say, we're like this person, they're talking about this thing, but they just don't do it, and I want to push them. And what do we tell our coaches at that time? Should you push them? No, absolutely not. And inevitably what happens is the coach feels, I'm doing a bad job. Week 5, they're not making progress. Week 6, they're not making progress. Week 7, coach shows up and they're like, I don't know what the hell happened. They did it all. And seriously, if y'all have a coach, ask your coach if they've experienced this before. 99% chance they'll say yes. This is how change happens. It's like the iceberg, where most of that subconscious change happens underneath. The interesting thing is if your coach pushes you, what happens when you get pushed? A lot of people will dig their heels in. But when you create that vacuum of space, the client will step forward and do it. Right? Beautiful. So chat got it. So it's really hard to do the reflection work and to think about this kind of stuff, but that's actually all. You don't have to do anything. Right? So like this is where like when we designed our coaching program, we looked at the science of change and the science of learning. And now we're sharing it with you right now. You can do this on your own. May not be quite as effective because you can't challenge your assumptions quite in the way that they can. But if you're just watching information, that's okay, right? Just watch it. Don't chain watch it. Reflect on it. Play around with it. Sit on a park bench somewhere and think about it. Why is this so hard for me? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? And that process of reflection is actually going to engage the same circuits as like the recall. And once we start recalling it, we start to get mastery over it. Once we have mastery over it, then it's in our tool belt. Third thing you've got to do or not do, which should be really easy because the whole point here is that you're not going to do anything. So what do we call someone who doesn't do anything? What do we call someone who doesn't act? People are saying lazy, lazy, bum, lazy. Incorrect. Slacker. We call that person patient. What does it mean to be patient? What does someone who is impatient do? Anything. Everything. What does it mean to be impatient? It means that I can't wait. I have to act. Third thing is be patient. And for those of you that don't want to do a damn thing, patience should actually come easily for you. It won't, but... Right? So if you want to change your life without acting, these are the three things. Be patient. Don't override your RAM. And reflect. That's where change really happens. So what tends to happen when people get impatient, they haven't done the requisite work underneath. And so they're launching an expedition that is doomed to failure. Be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It doesn't help. Recognize that change happens slowly. Just as an example, people are like, how slowly? So I basically failed my first year of college, right? Had like a 1.6 GPA or whatever. 9 years later, I got into medical school. You're like, oh my God, 9 years? That's a long time. Does that mean that it's going to take me 9 years? I don't think so. So the good news is with help, you can see change much more rapidly, right? We don't have people come into our coaching program. All right, here's your 9-year plan. We start to see change within 6 to 8 weeks, and that really solidifies around 12 weeks, 16 weeks, right? So there's a process that you can speed it up. Also, in terms of therapy, if you look at like, standard trials for psychotherapy are looking at changes at the 8-week mark, 12-week mark, things like that. So with help, you can do it faster, but be patient with yourself. Recognize that change takes time. And if you're not ready to act, because what happens when you force yourself to act, when you act impatiently, you just doom yourself to failure. As you doom yourself to failure, your hope decreases. It becomes harder to act. Right? If I apply for 5 different jobs without spending the time and energy to build a good resume, and I become more and more impatient, like, what's going to happen? I'm going to lose hope in the job application process, and I'm going to start to think, okay, there's no way I'm ever going to get a job. So be patient with yourself. So if you want to change your life without lifting a finger, it's fine to watch stuff. Just don't chain watch. Give that stuff an opportunity to sink in, literally. Let your short-term memory compound into the hippocampus as long-term memory, and then what happens when something is long-term memory? It bubbles up. Right? When I ask you what's 2 plus 2, the answer bubbles up. Why does it bubble up? Because it's been solidified within you. And what do people struggle with? They struggle with the fact that the right thoughts don't bubble up. How do you get the right thoughts to bubble up? You let them solidify. So don't chain watch informational or motivational videos. Number 2, reflect. Practice the process of bubbling up. Bubbling up is natural, but you can recall it. So reflect. After you watch a video, go and sit somewhere and do nothing. And think about it. Okay, what applies to me? Does this apply to me? Does this not apply to me? Do I disagree with it? Do I not disagree with it? Why does this feel so bad? What do I notice within myself? Wow, this is kind of weird. Like, the more I'm reflecting, the more I'm sort of starting to feel guilty. But what am I even feeling guilty about? What do I have to feel guilty about? Oh, interesting. What I feel guilty about is that I've known this all along, but I haven't been able to do it. Third thing is be patient. Don't act. Give it time. If you do these 3 things, you will be well along your road to change. Can you take notes during the reflective period? Absolutely. All right, Dr. K, it's time to go apply. Goodbye. As much as you're memeing, honestly, like, that's probably not a bad idea. Right? So, like, let's just think about this, like, as you're memeing, right? So, like, on Twitch, you're like, all right, I'm peacing out. If you're on YouTube, you're looking at the suggested playlist and there's another, like, actually, like, I know it's a meme, but that's recall. Y'all get that? Giganomics is applying the information. Right? And so this is going to be kind of weird, where it's sort of like, I guess if you really want to have this drive home, then leave. And I want you all to just think about that for a second, because even if we go over, let's say, like, we cover 3 or 4 concepts today, at the end of it, the other reason, if I am trying to get y'all to stay, right, is notice what happened. So notice how you felt over the course of the last 10 minutes, right? And then, like, what's going to happen to that feeling or the revelation or what you've understood as I cover the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? You're going to forget. It'll fade away. It won't sink in. Right? Step 1 was don't chain watch stuff, because you're going to overwrite your RAM. So just Alo is saying ban them so they apply what they learned. No, see, that's the opposite. They have to leave. We can't ban them. Do you understand that? It's the same thing as a coach not pushing you. Because if we ban them, they're like, screw you. So one of the most rewarding experiences I one time had was someone who came into my office, super generic scenario. Happened more than once, but I'm thinking about one person in particular, who's anxious about getting fired. And a year later, after doing a lot of internal work, they quit. There's a huge difference between when life does something to you and you choose to do it, even if it's the same thing. Me choosing to break up with a partner is different from the partner dumping me, even though the end result is, like, sort of the same. So y'all have to act. The more that we try to force you to act, the worse it's going to go. And so we're actually going to go all the way out there. It's like, you don't even act at all. Because the truth of the matter is, the way that we learn, the way that we change is actually not through action. It's up here.
Spotify isn't the app you think it is. You see, there's been a ton of apps and websites that stream music way before Spotify. Napster, Grooveshark, Pandora, Deezer, and yet all these companies
And then people get really frustrated with themselves. Just get rid of it, right? Just have a positive mindset. And it doesn't work for you, then you despair even further. So what on earth is going on? Like, how do we get out of this? So, I don't have a life. Warning, this text probably the most pathetic thing you've ever read. I'm a 24-year-old woman. I'm a high school dropout. I don't have a job. I don't have any friends. I never had a relationship and all that. Loneliness is indescribable. I've always felt out of place. And I've always been a weird kid. I wasn't the brightest in the school. I used to skip school for months. I just waited until my parents went to work and then came back home and spent time in my room. I basically wasted all my life being isolated, stuck inside my room due to my depression and severe social anxiety, and I was just indifferent about my future. Although I did have some plans or whatever, but that was stupid. I don't have good memories. I have never had some amazing adventures with my friends. I wasn't happy and I'm unhappy now. All I do every day is just scroll the internet or watch dumb videos. Nothing happens in my life. I tried to find a job, but I usually just chicken out and go back to my room, trying to escape sheer anxiety. My family is so upset with me. I don't even want to start with this one. I don't see a future for myself. I did go to a therapist. She gave me antidepressants and told me to find a job, but I'm still rotting in my room. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's not a life. I feel so hopeless and defeated. I don't think I'll ever catch up on life. And the most painful thing is that I'm actually a fun person and there are things I'd love to do. I want to see places. I want to travel. I want to have a healthy social life. I want to have a life, but I simply can't do even a small step. So sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we're in our 20s and we've got nothing going for us. High school dropout, didn't even finish school, don't have a job, don't have friends, never had a relationship. So romance isn't working well, professions isn't going well, academics aren't going well, and furthermore, our health isn't good, right? Because there's like crippling depression and anxiety, like really bad anxiety. And so we find ourselves in this situation where like nothing's going our way. There's like literally not a single point of light in our life. And we're 24, we realize this, and like we don't even know like where to start. Like where do you even start in this kind of situation? And this is what's like especially crippling about this is that if we look at this, what's the tone? Right? Like who do you think this person blames? Who is to blame here? I simply can't do one step. We feel defeated. And the challenge here is that sometimes when we're in this situation, like we have depression and anxiety, the internet or people will tell us, like myself included, go get therapy, right? So we'll say like, oh, like this is a problem. Like what's the diagnosis here? You're depressed. Oh, right. So you due to depression and anxiety. Okay, great. Go to therapy. And then we do that. And you get antidepressants and you're told to find a job and then you're still rotting in your room. So like the challenge here is that when you're faced with this situation, like there are some things that are supposed to be the right answer. And what on earth do you do if you do the right answer and it still doesn't work? Like then what? Then the real hopelessness sets in, right? Then it's like, then I want y'all to think about what effect this has on the mind. If someone tells you, oh, look, this is the right answer, like you need to go see a therapist and find medication. You go to a therapist, you find medication, you do the right thing, and it still doesn't work. Who's to blame? Even more you, right? Because this works for so many people. Therapy and antidepressants help people who are depressed, but they don't help me. So now you're like SOL, right? Like now it's like, now you're busted on such a fundamental level that even like medical professionals aren't able to help you. And so when you're faced in this situation, you're kind of screwed. Like you don't even you don't know where to start. You don't know how to make friends. You don't have social skills. You don't know how to like put together a resume. Like you haven't even finished school. And then what's really painful about this is that despite the fact that you're struggling with all this stuff, you still want what life has to offer. right? Like you recognize that life is supposed to be more than this. You want to have a healthy social life. You want to have a relationship. You want to travel. You want to do fun things. You want to do more than just spend all day on the internet. But where on earth do you even start? And it can feel so overwhelming. Like it's a really challenging problem to solve. But if you're going to therapy and you're getting antidepressants anyway and you're still stuck, then it really feels bad. So this is where, like, if we really want to understand this, we've got to kind of start at the top. So the first thing, we're going to share a little bit of research, okay? First thing to understand is that if you are defeated in your mind, the chances of success are going to be very low, right? So like basically, like it's been my experience that you fail when you give up. That's the most important variable in terms of whether you succeed or you fail. Now, what does success mean? What does failure mean? Like that's a whole separate philosophical question. But in essence, if you give up, then it's very hard to win. Now, the challenge is that telling you that doesn't actually fix anything, right? Actually, if you pay attention, what happens is you blame yourself even more because, oh, all I have to do is hope. And if I could hope, then I would be successful. But busted me, I can't even hope. My despair is so bad, like I can't even hope, I can't be motivated, I can't stay positive, like, because I'm so busted, I can't even do that, right? So like, do you see how like no matter what we say, like you're always going to be the problem? Like it's always going to be a deficiency in you. That's what your mind is going to tell you. That's what we have to get rid of. Now, if I tell you you have to get rid of it, then you can't get rid of it. Just get rid of it, right? Just have a positive mindset. And it doesn't work for you, then you despair even further. So what on earth is going on? Like, how do we get out of this? You'll see this. It's like a really tricky thing that the mind does. So let's understand a couple of things. So I'm going to ask y'all a question. What has to happen for a child to drop out of high school? Right? Like look at this. I just waited until my parents, I used to skip school for months. What has to be possible for a child to skip school? No, bullying doesn't work. Bullying is not what allows a child to drop out. Lack of support. Right? So like, I don't know. I mean, like I don't know if this applies to y'all. I don't know. It depends on your upbringing, but this should tell you the difference. There's no way that I would have been able to drop out. There's no friggin' way that my parents would have allowed me to drop out of school. So the first thing to understand is that if you're going nowhere in life, you've got to start by distributing the responsibility and really attributing stuff to where it belongs. So I'm going to give you guys just a simple example of this. If I accept all of the blame for everything in my life on me, let's acknowledge for a moment that like there's got to be some stuff that I can't control, right? But when I accept responsibility for that, I'm accepting responsibility for something that I have no control over, therefore am doomed to failure. Like, you know, if I accept responsibility for the fact that there's only one moon in the sky, I'm setting myself up for despair and failure because I'm fundamentally, there are things in your life that you can control and things in your life that you can't control. And the first thing to understand if you are in a despairing mindset is actually like correctly attributing where the blame goes. Because then what happens, instead of blaming yourself for everything, you're only going to blame yourself for what you're truly responsible for. So this is a kind of situation where if you're abusive to yourself, you have to learn like self-love. And what's the first step of learning self-love? The first step of learning self-love is like acknowledging that other people may have had a hand in this too. Because if you're beating yourself, if you're snatching away all of the mistakes of other people and taking them, oh no, it's all me, it's all me, it's all me, it's all me. My parents aren't responsible at all. If you're snatching away all of that responsibility, it's going to like elevate your despair, right? Because then you've screwed up your life in so many different dimensions. So the first thing to recognize is that, you know, if you skipped school for months, like, how did your parents let you do that? If you dropped out of high school, like, you can't drop out of high school without your parents being okay with it in some way. And that's just the start of it. Second thing to consider is like, how many friends did you have growing up? What did your parents teach you about meeting new people and making new friends? Did they teach you how to make friends? Did they demonstrate how to make friends? Did you all go and socialize as a family with other people and meet new families? Did you meet new kids? Right, so you look at the rest of the world and you look at all the people who are the haves, and you're a have-not. And I think what we don't realize, we attribute these things to like motivation. But the truth of the matter is, like, how does a human being learn anything? It's through like observation. Even the language that I'm using, how did you learn to speak English? Like, you didn't try, like people around you just started speaking English. Well, maybe English is your second language because we have a large international audience, but take your language of choice, right? Spanish, Dutch, whatever. And so like, we just learn this kind of stuff. And this is the thing that that a lot of people don't realize is like social skills, even things like discipline, waking up on time, showering every day, and things like that, we're taught, right? This kind of behavior is modeled for us. It's part of the reason why religion is so like inherited, right? So like if you grow up in a particular religion, if you have, if your entire social circle are Southern Baptists and you grow up in that household, you don't have a random chance to end up as any religion. It's not like the all random mode in a video game. Like you're gonna grow up Southern Baptist, there's a decent chance, right? You're not gonna grow up Baha'i. So this is where the first thing that you've got to realize is that a lot of the things that you struggle with are things that people are explicitly taught or modeled. One of those two things. So was there good modeling about forming new relationships? Did your parents expose you to new social situations and new people? Did you go to parties with people that you didn't know? Did you go to barbecues? Did you go to picnics? Did you go to church events? Did you go to these things where you met new kinds of people? Did they show you? Did your dad or mom, meet people and then like, because I remember like this happened for me, right? So we used to travel a lot growing up, and I saw my dad make small talk with people. He would make small talk with randos. Right? And I would feel super awkward, and he'd be like, "This is my son." I'd say hi. I'd feel super awkward, but I saw him do it over and over and over again. And then sometimes the parent, the person that they would talking to would interact with me. So there's all kinds of stuff that we're supposed to be taught. Like, how do you put together a resume? How do you apply for a job? Like, even think about your own parents. And did your parents, were they sort of professionally motivated? Did they like go through a series of negotiations when they got a job offer? How many jobs did they consider? How often did they move jobs? Were you taught, was it intrinsic in your household that if a job is not good, you should go search for something better? There are all kinds of things that we are instilled with. And this is why you get sort of like, I went to medical school. I want to say 20% or higher, 30%, 40% of my class in medical school had at least one parent who was a doctor. Do you think we're genetically better at medicine? Of course not. There's no such thing. It's all upbringing. So the first thing that you've got to do is acknowledge that all this isn't your fault. Not all of it. Like, are you responsible for some of it? Sure. But especially like if you were 6 years old and you didn't have any friends, that has nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with your circumstances. Every year that goes by, you take a little bit more responsibility and a little bit more responsibility. But even then, the people who have a vivid social life at the age of 24 were the ones who were taught how to socialize and modeled socialization. Right? So if you weren't taught those things, it's like you're blaming yourself for not speaking English, and you grew up in like, India or Sri Lanka, where there's like no one speaking English, and then you're beating yourself up for not speaking English. The problem is that we don't really like think about this, right? So especially when depression starts to kick in, it inflates self-blame. So like, what does this do? So the first thing is that if you can actually go through this and acknowledge this for yourself, it's going to change the way that you talk to yourself. And this is where there's like one or two like things that I kind of want to point out to y'all, but my family is so upset with me. So I don't even want to start with this one. So this is the kind of thing where sometimes we have to be super careful because our family will teach us our self-talk. Where do we get our self-talk? We get it from the way that we're talked to. So if your family blames you for this situation, if your family is like, you need to just fix it, just fix it, just fix it, just fix it, without how can we help, you know, that's very, very dangerous. So what you've got to essentially do is start by acknowledging that all of this isn't your fault. Is some of it your fault? Absolutely. But if you weren't taught how to make friends, if you were allowed to drop out of high school, that in turn, like going to high school is where you start to self-regulate in terms of sleep, going to sleep on time, making your assignments get done by a particular time. You know, like it's where you learn how to be an efficient procrastinator. You learn all these things. You're forced to learn these things through high school. And if you don't have that opportunity, like your brain just isn't put through that exercise regimen, and you're not going to learn some of these fundamental skills. Because like the whole point of high school is they force you to do it. Book reports aren't optional. You got it. The book report's due on Friday. You got to do it. You start on Thursday at 2 p.m. Sure, you read through the book, you get the cliff notes, and then you start writing at 10 p.m. and then you finish at 2 a.m. and you turn it in the next day. That's how you learn how to do like the, you know, a decent minimal kind of job. That's a very important skill at life, right? Is being able to do good enough. And if you were deprived of these opportunities, if there wasn't enough parental structure and support for you to go to school, then like, you know, you're not going to learn this stuff. It's not like we're, you know, if you think about human beings, like human beings aren't born with the instinct of productivity. Like animals are born with the ability to like instinctually swim and run and stuff like that. Like, you know, you give birth to an impala on the Serengeti and the impala knows how to run. It's like out of the womb for 30 seconds and it's running. Human beings, we're not taught, like we have to be taught this stuff. Like a 6-month-old isn't capable of anything. It can't put together a schedule. It doesn't know how to go to work on time. It doesn't know like how to set healthy technology. Like think about it. It's completely, it can't even feed itself. And so the whole point is that all this crap that we assume is intrinsic about human beings is not actually intrinsic. It's taught. Once you realize that, you don't deserve quite as much blame as you give yourself. That's a really important piece. And once you realize that sure, some of this is my fault, but a lot of it isn't, then your self-talk can change, right? Did I do a bad job? Yes. But let's be honest, I kind of did okay, but I was dealt a crappy hand of cards in life. Once you're able to say that to yourself, that's where forgiveness comes in. The ability to forgive yourself. And once you start to forgive yourself, once you start to cut yourself some slack, and once you start to put less pressure on yourself, then a lot of things can change. And this is where I want to just show you all, kind of flash to another post real quick. Dr. K, what exactly what actions do I take to change my life? And this is where we get caught up in the actions. Right? I would like to change the following: not having friends, not being independent, staying shy, not having freedom, being in the house, etc., etc. Not having much power. Oh, my parents being controlling. Exactly what actions do I take to change these? Most people would say just get a hobby or go out, but what if I'm terrified of it? This is the key thing. Logically, I know it won't be that terrifying, but I just can't do it. The problem here is not what actions you take. The problem here is the mind that takes the actions. So when you look at your life and nothing is going well, you don't have friends, you don't have a job, you just dropped out of high school, you've never been in a relationship. Fixing each and every one of these problems is absolutely overwhelming. There's like, how are you supposed to catch up? Can't. So what do you actually do about it? What you've got to do is change your mind, change your thinking. How do you change your thinking? That's what we just walked through. So oddly enough, the first step is blame. So depression is anger turned against the self. That's a very old, I think, Freudian conception of depression. All of your anger is directed, you pull it away from your parents and you all point it in here. So now, first thing that you've got to do is like, accountability needs to be like more evenly spread, because you're not responsible for everything. Like, it's crazy. Like, you can't be responsible for everything in your life. Dropping out of high school only happens with parental support. They have to allow it. Being able to skip school for months, like what, there was never a parent-teacher conference? They didn't see your grades? They didn't, like, realize? They never asked you, how's your homework going? You know, parents have to be, and that too may not necessarily have been their fault, in the sense that if they had to work or had other kinds of problems or had health issues or whatever, like, we're not necessarily blaming them for them. We're not blaming in terms of like, you did this to me. So we're not sort of saying you need to be resentful and angry and stuff like that. We just need to acknowledge that sometimes, like, crap happens in life, and that's because there's a confluence of events where something kind of slips through the cracks. And if your parents were too busy to do this stuff, or if they were never taught how to do this stuff and they had to kind of muddle through and struggle and stuff like that, that's actually all okay too. But it ain't your fault. So the first thing is a distribution of responsibility, acknowledging that not everything in your life is actually your fault. And once you start to do that, you can start to change a little bit of your despair. You can change the way that you think. You can change the way that you talk to yourself and about yourself. Because then, if you were never taught social skills, suddenly, if you go out and you try to socialize and you literally don't know what to say, it's not because you're stupid. It's because, like, hey, you don't know how to play the game of socialization. Maybe that's because you never had the tutorial. It's like some of us are playing life as if we're playing the Elden Ring enemy randomizer, and we've never played a video game in our life. Like, no, there's no tutorial. We're just dropped in. Because remember that life is more like the enemy randomizer. Like, it's not crafted for us to do level 1 and then level 2 and level 3 and level... It's not crafted for us to succeed like a video game. It's just RNG. And sometimes, like, the first person that you date is a level 100 narcissist. It's not like life gives you the level 1 narcissist first so that you learn how to deal with them, and then the level 2, and then the level 3, and then the level 4, and the level 5, and then eventually you can deal with the level 100 narcissist. That's not how it works. It's like RNG. So you've got to, like, cut yourself some slack. Acknowledge that if you struggle, is there more you can do? 100%. But were you taught how to socialize? As you had social difficulties, or when you dropped out of high school, did your parents ever come and talk to you about it and be like, hey, now that you've dropped out of high school, we should probably do something to make sure you get your social activity and you can continue to make friends? Right? So I see this with parents who homeschool, where they'll, like, intentionally and actively enroll their kids in extracurricular activities because they acknowledge if they homeschool, they're not going to get any social development. So we've got to make sure we do that. As you start to change the way that you think about yourself and the way that you talk to yourself, mistakes will be less devastating and the future will be more bright. You'll be able to do more things. The last thing is that I do think that therapy and medication can have a good role here. That's where we also don't know how long this person is on medication, but just a reminder, a couple things about medication. The first is that antidepressants tend to take about 8 weeks to become effective. So if you started the medication a week ago, it's not going to do anything yet. That's the amount of time that it takes to become effective, 8 weeks. So for 2 months, not going to see a whole lot, potentially. Some people it happens earlier. Some people you'll get benefits within 2 weeks or 1 month, but give it at least 8 weeks. Second thing to consider is that if you are in a depressive episode, if you actually have a clinical diagnosis of major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, or some kind of other mood disorder, that these things are, generally speaking, temporary. So we know that depressive episodes, generally speaking, last from anywhere from a few weeks to a month to about 1 year. And so as long as you stay on medication, hopefully it'll reduce the frequency and severity of those episodes. Next thing is if your therapist says, here's a medication, go find a job, GG, go, and they're not supporting you in that process, you should probably find a different therapist. And that's where most therapists don't prescribe medication, so I don't know exactly what you mean by therapist. So that's where, like, give yourself a little bit of slack, give yourself time for the medication to work. By the way, all this stuff is in Dr. K's Guide to Depression, where we explain some of these core concepts and how psychotherapy works and how medication works and some of these things like that. So the other thing you should absolutely do is educate yourself. But at the end of the day, if every dimension of your life seems to be falling apart, the most important thing is not to fix this thing over here, this thing over here, this thing over here, and this thing over here. It's actually to fix the common element, which is good. It's to fix the tool with which you play the game of life. And fixing the tool starts with a very, very subtle thing of distributing responsibility. Because chances are, if you're going nowhere in life at the age of 24, you weren't taught how to go somewhere. And this kind of cognitive reframing, and this is also why we started career coaching, by the way, because we realized that there's all kinds of skills. There's a connection between emotions, behavior, self-understanding, and self-judgment, and even like a certain how-to. So if you look at our coaching program is actually designed to address these kinds of issues. So even in career coaching, it's like, how do you put together a resume? How do you talk to your boss? In general coaching, it's going to be like more about, okay, let's understand the thought patterns of your mind. Let's understand how the thought patterns of your mind, where they come from and how they interfere with what you do. Let's also give you a space where if you need to vent off negative emotional energy, you can do it in a healthy manner, in a coaching sort of environment, so that when you go for your job interview, like you're not carrying those negative emotions around. Right? So you can definitely do that in therapy as well, but therapy is going to be more clinically focused, and generally speaking, your therapist will say things like it's important for you to find a job, whereas they're not, most of us are not formally trained in like helping people find jobs. We're formally trained in diagnosis and treatment. Right? So that's why we have a career coaching program, because we hear this kind of crap entirely too much. I went to therapy. They told me to find a job, but they didn't tell me how. So that's where, like, at the end of the day, you've got to challenge your mindset. You have to shape your mindset, because that's the instrument that you use for everything. Your mind is going to be the thing that determines your social interactions, whether you apply for a job, whether you get a GED. All of that requires your mind, so the mind is the first thing to fix. Questions? So Pixie Kate is saying, so many therapists are not qualified, I swear. I'd like to be a little bit more optimistic than that. I think a lot of therapists are operating in a system that does not allow them to succeed. I think a lot of the way that therapy is delivered is, I think, not the fault of the therapist. We have a medical system that overemphasizes particular problems, which is entirely why coaching has cropped up. Why did this? If therapists were great at this stuff, there would have been no market for this, bluntly. But over time, what's happening is therapy is becoming more protocolized, it's becoming more generic, and it's becoming more medical legal. You have 45-minute appointments. Sorry, I have to see like six people to like make my RVUs and meet my productivity quota. So I don't have an extra half hour for you. I'm sorry that the insurance provider does not pay for a 75-minute appointment. The most they'll pay for is a 50-minute appointment. And that's because there are all these studies that show that 50-minute appointments are effective medical treatments for depression. So that's not additional time I can give you. There's a lot of how therapists also, some of them will assess for suicidality on every visit with every patient. Right? So I'd like to cut my colleagues a little bit more slack and sort of like, I acknowledge that, you know, if they operate a particular way, is it that they're underqualified or undertrained? I don't think so. I think they're squeezed, just like everyone else is.
Here we go.
And the camera was that was amazing. That was one of the better things I've ever heard.
Hey!
Hi, what's going on here?
Nothing. You didn't cut out that part.
Why are you sitting on the floor of the set?
Because we are.
That didn't seem super weird to me, I guess. Like, I didn't...
If you grew up watching Nickelodeon,
Yeah,
there's a
I
high
don't-
chance you've heard stories about the infamous Dan Schneider. Dan got his start in the entertainment industry in the 80s. After
Okay.
attending Harvard for just one semester, he
Oh.
moved back home to Memphis to work on computers.
Go ahead and talk to Jerry. I'm sure he's gonna have some super intelligent things to say. Really, really witty. Go, Jerry.
There's no way that's true. I went to Harvard. Harvard. Not really.
This was ultimately
Uh-huh.
short-lived, and he would abandon his job with the goal of making it big in Hollywood. He
Okay.
packed up his bags and moved to Los Angeles, California to
So he did what streamers do and YouTubers do. All right. Okay. You can see this.
jumpstart his acting career. Dan Schneider starred in movies such as Better Off Dead, The Big Picture, and Hot Resort. And although the movies may have performed well in the box office, it was apparent that the big screen was not his medium. His portrayal as Dennis Blunden in ABC's Head of the Class would bring clarity to Dan Schneider. He was going to dominate television. Instead of acting, Dan began to write, produce, and create shows such as All That, Kenan and Kel, The Amanda
watched
Show,
that one.
Zoe 101,
I watched that one. Didn't watch
Victorious,
that one.
Drake and Josh,
Nope.
and Sam and Cat.
Nope.
He's quoted as the most successful writer and TV executive in children's entertainment television for the last 30 years. In the history of self-reports, Dan Schneider has to be leading the charge. A full-grown man has plastered his entire career with his foot fetish. Dan Schneider has deleted over 14,000 tweets. That included the words child, foot, and toes. Almost all of Dan Schneider's shows include aspects of physical comedy, including feet. After all, feet are funny. They're silly. Doesn't everyone just love feet? No. Dan Schneider and feet are inseparable. One simply cannot exist without the other. In fact, entire meme compilations have been made about his foot fetish. There is a dark cloud of silence surrounding Nickelodeon's past horrors. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Nickelodeon's dialogue coach, Brian Peck, and Dan Schneider hosted scouting events for new talent. These
the
events would
fuck?
include taking your shoes off and participating in camp-like activities such as tennis or swimming. Revenge of the Cis podcast has been relentlessly investigating Dan Schneider over the years. And according to an anonymous child
What the
actor
fuck?
who attended one of these scouting calls, parents were separated from children to attend a seminar in order to meet agents, while the kids were scouted at the pool. And these kids were aged 13 to 22.
He's like, you gotta just take off your shoes, just like run around in front of the camera, you know, talk about how much you love being barefoot. And at the time, even, you know, it was like, okay, that's weird, but I didn't think anything of it because I was still young.
Right.
So what would happen is that your parents would
Because that's the thing, yeah, because people don't even realize it's a...
send
what
you
the fuck?
to sort of like this camp. It was basic acting classes, and it was an opportunity for the kids to get discovered. And interestingly enough, most of the kids got discovered by the pool.
Brian Peck was later charged with 11 accounts of sexual assault with a minor named John Doe in court
11? Holy shit!
documents. Although the identity of the 15-year-old minor has never been confirmed, in fear that it would damage the young star's career, speculations on the internet have swirled around since this case. According
Who
to
knows?
yet another anonymous source, the minor at the time was allegedly Drake Bell. It is impossible to ever know if this is true or not,
Yeah.
but the internet seems convinced. Brian Peck was convicted in 2004 and served 16 months in prison.
Holy
After his release,
So
he was
this isn't like some sort of weird, like, put together the pieces online thing. This fucking was like the law and shit. This this actual like court documents, like what the fuck? Like I didn't even think about this at all. That's scary. This is real as it gets, yeah.
never allowed to work near children ever again, right?
Probably a good
no,
idea. Wait.
Disney hired him to work on Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Oh my god.
I'm Cole Sprouse, and you're watching Disney Channel.
An article from the LA Times in 2002 named Groomed to Be All That details how child actors were media trained and prepped on how to deal with their unordinary life by Nickelodeon. They would carry pamphlets and attend workshops so they knew how to deal with news outlets, reporters, and fans. It highlights Nickelodeon's awareness of the dystopian work environment these kids were thrown into.
That's a good idea.
Oftentimes thrust into the spotlight by adults who don't have their best interest in mind. But let's talk about problems that we can avoid, which is why today's video is sponsored by Keeps. Keeps is a subscription service that helps men keep their hair. They offer clinically proven treatments that help combat the symptoms of hair loss. Delivered right to your doorstep, you don't even have to leave your house. Best of all, Keeps treatment plans are affordable, typically half the cost of pharmacy prices. With Keeps, you can get quality, expert care without ever visiting a doctor's office or...
It's not a targeted ad, guys. Like, he got a sponsorship. It's not targeted. It's just there. It's just
pharmacy.
A coincidence.
You're also getting 24/7 care and support.
Come on.
Each treatment plan comes with a full year of unlimited messaging, so you can connect with your prescribing doctor about anything, anytime. 2 out of 3 guys will experience hair loss before the age of 35, but don't worry. Keeps has you covered. In addition to clinically proven treatments, Keeps has an award-winning all-natural thickening shampoo and conditioner system. Keeps physicians will help you select the right products and treatments for your specific condition and hair goals.
I bet they
hair
will.
loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/Philion or click the link in the description. That's KEEPS.com/Philion. And thank you to Keeps for sponsoring this video. Under Dan Schneider's writing and directing,
like that.
Girls were overtly sexualized time and time again. The footage is haunting and disgusting, and by today's standards, it's almost ancient. The dichotomy of growing up watching Nickelodeon and reviewing this footage is eerie. It includes gratifying his obvious foot fetish, along with adult references that a child or young adult should not have to perform. Considering the power dynamic of an executive producer and actor. Remember, this is pre-Me Too, when the culture surrounding predation and Hollywood was even more secretive. All this to say that social media campaigns or exposés would have fizzled out or would have been dealt with, if you catch my drift. In 2010, Nickelodeon hosted a website called The Slap, where actors from their most popular shows would post and interact with the media hosted on the site. Now, it redirects to Nick.com after Dan Schneider left Nickelodeon in 2018. One of the most disturbing pieces of content featured on The Slap was Ariana Grande or Cat Valentine from Sam and Cat being forced to perform vile acts that only a demented man would greenlight.
So now, just for fun, I'm gonna say 3 sentences that I bet not one person has ever said before in the history of mankind. Sentence number 1. Oh man, my uvula got stuck between that hamster's toes. See? That could never happen, because your uvula is that swingy thing in the back of your throat right here. Sentence number 3. I'm soaking wet! Quick, somebody bring me the ocean! No one would ever say that. Why? Because if you were soaking wet and you were upset about it, the last thing you'd want is for somebody to bring you the ocean.
What the fuck?
Because the ocean is even more wet than even the wettest person in the world. Have you ever tried to get your whole big toe in your mouth? Check this out.
I could not do that. Like, I straight up could not do that.
Sometimes I wonder if you can get juice from a potato. Is it possible for a teenage girl to drink water upside down? I'm thirsty.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
It's not possible.
Bro, what the fuck?
This has been me
That's
in a video. Come on, give up the juice.
Dan Schneider goes by Dan Warp on his...
Jesus Christ, like, what the fuck? Yeah, when she stops, like, that's... dude, I thought this was gonna just be, like, some fucking dumb shit. I didn't... Yeah, get this man in jail. This is too much. Yeah, that's, like... that's disturbing to even watch, man. It's... Yeah, it's, like, makes you uncomfortable to even see it. Is this TOS? I mean, I don't think this is TOS. If they're gonna suspend me for this, they're fucking stupid. Like, this is a legitimate thing, man. It's like I could see like maybe one of these being innocuous, but like all of the rest of these are just fucking like it's like any person, any adult would see this and think that it's fucking weird, you know? Like all the rest of them are just like, yeah, I got a line for it. Yeah, it's intentional. Yeah, it's like if one of like, for example, like if one of those was in there, it'd be like, okay, that's weird, you know, maybe cut that out and like the rerun or something like that. And like, you know, just don't, you know, like you just kind of write it off. But like, there are so many of them that are fucking weird. You see what I'm saying? It made me so fucking uncomfortable. Yeah, I know. It's brutal. And like, the thing is, I know that some people said it's like, you know, the Quentin Tarantino thing with like the foot fetish in like his movies. You want to know why that's completely fucking different and why anybody who's equating these is an idiot? It's because the people, the actors that are doing it are fucking full-grown adults. And also, the audience is full-grown adults. These are R-rated movies. This is for fucking kids, man. It was very uncomfortable. Yeah, this is really, really bad, man. Holy fucking shit. Was she 18? I don't know. I think maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I feel like even if she was 18, it's very clear that this is being done. It's still, she's 17, 16. Like I feel like you can, this, yeah, sure. It's like a gray area spectrum, but like it's all, none of it is clean. You see what I'm saying? Like, none of it's clean. Even if you think that, like, oh, it's not that bad because she was 18. Yeah, all right, she's 19. Like, yeah, okay, but, like, she's portrayed as a teenage girl, number one. Number two, the audience is teenage girls. Like, it's Nickelodeon. So, you know, it's a kid's show. Like, so, like, even if, like, I'll give you that. Like, it's still fucking perverse, man. Oh, my God. This 25 is fucked up. Yeah, it's just... wow.
Social media accounts. He has since deleted over 20 million
Good.
views of videos from his YouTube channel and curiously updated his playlists years after his involvement with Nickelodeon, pointed out by fellow YouTuber Sloan. Miranda Cosgrove from iCarly has weird clips of Dan touching her and awkward interactions with the production crew. It's definitely inappropriate and bizarre. Criminal? No one can really say for sure.
She say nice things about me? Because I will tase her if necessary.
See, like, the thing is that if you said that, like, I would make that joke about somebody, like, yeah, sure, it's a joke. It's kind of like, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of the Bored Apes thing. Yeah, it's just a joke, like, who gives a fuck, right? And it's only bad in the context of everything else. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? Is it like that's how these things happen? Is that they happen, and this is like maybe... It's like if you look at it with the lens of him being a predator, it's immediately fucking horrible, right? It's immediately horrible. But like if you're just seeing like, oh, it's just maybe just two people having a laugh, it's whatever, right? And that's how it goes by. Yeah, that's how it gets by right there. Too many coincidences? Yeah, well, it's obviously not a coincidence. Guy went to jail.
The taser. We haven't had to use it in a long time. But
I said lots of nice things.
So I said nice things about you.
Oh.
That's gonna get on TV. That's gonna get on TV.
Okay, all right. After seeing more of the full clip, that's fucking weird, even without the context. Yep, all right. That is... I very rarely cringe, but I came really close. Yeah, I came very close. Holy shit.
Jeanette McCurdy, or Sam from iCarly, and later Sam and Cat, quit acting and looks negatively on her acting career as a whole. She is the definition of a product of the toxic work environment and abuse she details receiving while working as a child actor.
Hey, Dan Schneider. I know you're watching my Vine. Do you like my Vine? Vine. Look what you've done to me.
She would later find her place behind the camera working as a producer and director.
That's fucking weird, man. Like, you know what that reminds me a lot of? Is, remember whenever there were, like, all those celebrities that would joke about Harvey Weinstein before it came out that all of it was real? And, like, you go back and you see the jokes, and it's like, wait a second. Yeah, wait a second. Like, bro, like, that actually wasn't a joke. Bill Cosby? I didn't see any of the Bill Cosby ones.
Both Miranda Cosgrove and Jeanette McCurdy did not attend the Kids' Choice Awards in 2014, while Dan Schneider won a Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2019, she released a teaser called He Touched Me for a loose autobiography that she was making. This left the internet both disturbed and interested in who she was referencing. One theory is that her brother in this clip alludes to Dan Schneider.
There's a lot of abuse that happens. I worked with an incredibly emotionally abusive producer.
I wish. I don't want to see that.
Like, I mean, even talking about it now, my face gets hot thinking it.
The other theory...
I feel like... I can never tell somebody, like, what they should or shouldn't do. But I would say that it's, especially in a situation like this, like, you can never really say, like, oh, what you should or shouldn't do, because, like, it's about, like, if they're comfortable and, like, everything like that. But, like, man, would it make a lot of people's lives easier if you said what it was? You know, it's like, think about how many people that, like, that got saved from people coming out about Harvey Weinstein, for example. You know, like, I mean, you gotta... It's true, yeah, exactly. Like, it would really, it's so scary though, yeah, because you don't want to get, like, blacklisted. You don't want that person to, like, make you look bad or whatever. They're afraid for their own safety. They could kill you. Yeah, I mean, so that's why I said I can't really say that, but but I mean, what I'm saying is right though, isn't it? That it would be a lot easier for a lot more people for if she said what it really was. You know, like, but it's not my right to tell her what she can and can't say or should or shouldn't say.
Is that this clip portrays a similar scene when she was in Law & Order SVU. It's also worth noting that Jeanette McCurdy is not part of the very successful iCarly reboot. She has even stated that she is ashamed of the role she played in the original iCarly. Amanda Bynes easily has the strangest and darkest story regarding Nickelodeon. She
Bro, I
met
used
Dan
to watch
Schneider
the Amanda
at
show.
10 years old on the set of All That, and would go on to get her own spin-off show called The Amanda Show.
Yeah, I used to
Amanda
watch this.
Bynes was a child star who lacked a relationship with her parents. It seemed as if she was just the breadwinner for the family, and that's all they cared about. She was quoted asking for breaks because she was working so much. She developed eating disorders and was even medicated at a young age to help her deal with her problems such as dissociation, hiding her true self behind the character she played. In other words, acting was her way to cope with reality. At 16,
Bro, that is some bad shit. Yeah, it's like, that's awful, man. It's the issue with non-reporting. Yeah, exactly. Like, bro, I like you, but you're not seeing the whole picture in the whole industry, sir, politics, etc. Well, I'm like, there's not... What do you mean I'm not seeing... Like, what am I not understanding here? I understand this completely. Like, this is not hard to understand. The reason why these stories are so compelling is because of the fact that they are easy to understand. Yeah, probably an anti-Semite. Oh, because it's the Jews that are in control, right? Yeah, I mean, that could be it. I don't know. But in general, whenever I look at shit like this, it is crazy to see how bad some people get treated. It is absolutely awful. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, guys, I don't give a fuck about that shit. Like, listen, if you have, like, this agenda you want to fucking push, don't expect me to go off and fight for your fucking agenda, okay? Blizzard's giving out store helm transmogs as prime loot? No, I'll look at that after this. This is so hard to watch? Yeah, it is. This is fucking scary, man.
Amanda wanted to be emancipated from her parents, meaning she could live her life independently without them. And during this period in her life, she would spend increasing amounts of time with Dan Schneider. An article claiming that she was going to live with Dan Schneider and his wife was removed from the internet in 2003. In 2014, at the age of 26 years old, Amanda Bynes was put in a conservatorship by her family. Since then, there have been outbursts from her Twitter alleging serious abuse from her father, but nothing has happened. There is also speculation that potential abuse...
I need to tell the truth about my dad. I will not be manipulated or brainwashed by anyone, so let me live my own life free of unhappiness, misery. Call me what you want. Please don't call me crazy or insane, because that's a joke. And like, that's the thing, right? Is like, maybe it wasn't really her dad, but like, you know, she was making the family a lot of money, so the dad knew about the bad stuff, and he was like, oh, it's okay. You know, like, well, it's worth it because, you know, we're going to be rich. Something like that. You see kind of what I'm saying? Like, it could be a lot of different things besides just like him being an abuser. Holy fuck, man.
From a father figure means Dan Schneider. There have been numerous Twitter accounts that impersonate Amanda and ask for money or share random details about the conservatorship, and it's impossible to know if one of the accounts is actually her or not. A cryptic message that was apparently left by Amanda Bynes, detailed by NT Lawyer, reads out in capital letters, "Dan did it." This could just be celebrity gossip, but it's oddly specific and sometimes correct. Celebrity.
Let's see. So every single one is capitalized. Yeah, that was intentional. I think this is intentional. What do you guys think? Yeah, like, I mean, 100%. Because, like, everything else, like, there's no other... Yeah, this is 100%. I could see it, yeah, DANDIDIT, right? There you go. Yeah, 100%.
Gossip, but it's oddly specific and sometimes correct. However, at the bottom of Crazy Days and Nights website, there is a disclaimer that states, the site publishes rumors, conjecture, and fiction. In addition to accurately reported information, certain situations, characters, and events portrayed in the blog are either products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Information on this site may contain errors or inaccuracies, so there's...
I hate that. I hate how people sometimes they have a platform for this kind of stuff, and then they're like, yeah, anything that we say could just be fake.
Thompson leaves OG. Will attempt to qualify TI with another team. Okay, OG has granted Topia the right to explore his options for TI. Has expressed a wish to compete again. Hope to see you in Singapore, Thompson Dota. I wonder which team he's gonna join. And what I have a bit of a prediction, guys. What if he joins like what if he joins like a team? Isn't the team he's gonna join be seen as the biggest scumbags in Dota history? Like they kick their player mid laner right before TI just to invite Thompson, who's been chilling in his bedroom for a full year. Aren't they the biggest scumbag? The team that invites him, whatever team it is. It's not Team Bald. It's not Team Bald. It's probably not the EU team. Whoever's getting kicked, I'll be sweating right now, dude. Whoever the fuck it is. Boom, kick Boom for Thompson and Gaming Gladiators. Yeah, that'd be a good option. Boom, kick Boom for Thompson and Gaming Gladiators. Yeah, that'd be a good option.
Hey guys, big announcement. Trash Taste is officially going on tour.
So we can't give too many details right now, but we do talk about it quite a bit in this video, so we just wanted to let you guys know. There will be more information coming at a later date, very soon.
Anyway, guys, on with the episode.
Did you ever have to look into security?
No, because no one was like doing any nefarious shit. To
Right.
me. Well,
Yeah.
I say that, but somebody did mail a tub of shit to a company address that I was registered at.
I shouldn't laugh, but that's very funny.
It was in like a Tupperware kind of thing. But like,
here is your tub of horseshit, sir.
It's like, how long did it take you guys to realize it was horseshit?
it was probably after my third spoonful that I
Top of the morning to you, laddies.
Oh my.
Welcome back to another episode of Trash Taste Podcast.
I apologize.
Maybe I'm not ready.
Apparently, we weren't ready either.
That's how I'm starting it off. That's how I'm starting it off. Welcome to the Trash Taste Podcast. I'm Joey, and I'm with Connor and Gon, as always. And I had to do that intro because of this guy sitting next to me. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm the token Irishman for today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
Have you ever had an Irish person on your podcast?
I don't believe we have. No.
I mean, I don't know many Irish people to begin with. So,
Me neither.
Yeah. But yeah, we got Jacksepticeye on.
Yeah,
Finally.
thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
Yeah. Pretty much.
What?
How you been?
That's very aggressive.
How are you today?
Tearing me down.
How are you?
I'm good. Okay. Jeez. Yeah. Woke up a little bloated, but I'm feeling fine now. Like, what else? Like, my stool was good. Like, what else do you want to know? Nah, I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah, because you were telling us earlier that you've only done like a few podcasts in your entire YouTube career, which, considering how long you've been on YouTube,
This could be the most controversial video I've made since the time I debated bone-in versus boneless chicken wings, or I could be completely wrong here hitting the crack pipe and it might just be an extremely cold, stale take. I'm really not sure. Could go either way. I'm just super tired of superhero content. Marvel shows, Marvel DC movies, I just don't get excited for them anymore. Superhero fatigue, I think, is the term a lot of people use now, which I think is underselling it because it's not just being worn out from so much of it, it's being genuinely put off because so much of it's being shoved down your throat. It's more of a soreness from being face-fucked by superheroes for so long now. Marvel just unveiled like 6,000 new shows and movies on the horizon here, and I've been asked my opinion on each and every one of them. It's just exhausting, because it's like being asked to rate every individual noodle in a bowl of spaghetti. I'm gonna rate them all pretty much the same, because they all taste the same. Now I want to be clear before people get too upset and flipping over their chair in a fit of rage and anger. There's nothing wrong with liking superhero content. Nothing at all. In fact, I still do enjoy watching it in the moment, like I have fun watching them, but it's not like I get excited. But there's nothing wrong with being excited either. You can have a completely different opinion from me. It's just I feel like everything for superhero content is pretty much the same these days. And I think it's important I define exactly what I mean here. I'm talking entirely about Marvel and DC. I love The Boys and I loved Invincible, and those are both two superhero shows. But they're very different from the Marvel DC formula. Very, very, very far removed from those two. To give you an example, every time Marvel or DC drops a new trailer for a show or movie, I'm always asked on stream to watch it and give my opinion on it, and I always draw the same conclusion, that it was a pretty generic trailer that followed the same formula that they've been using for the last decade. And to go even further, when I watched the Black Adam trailer on stream, I started to guess upcoming lines correctly, even though I had never seen the trailer before.
You can be the destroyer of this world.
Or the savior.
Or you can be its savior.
What a guess.
The world needed a hero.
It got me. Oh, I'm nuts! I'm nuts! Let's go! God, this is so fucking generic. It doesn't take a galaxy brain intellect here to piece together what the next lines were going to be. This wasn't exactly like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2 with, next you're going to say this, and it'd be really impressive. I think these were pretty predictable lines that most people could have seen coming, because all superhero movies basically have the same bones these days. They follow very similar structure. Every character, again, follows very similar patterns where they're always making jokes and quipping with one another, and these lines in the trailers are always very similar. I have a feeling they're all written by the same team. They just like outsource it to the superhero trailer department because they always pretty much play out the exact same. And again, there's nothing wrong with liking that either. I enjoyed superhero movies as well. I have fun watching them, I leave happy, it feels good, and that's as far as it goes. There's nothing wrong with it being that level of entertainment, but it's getting to a point where I'm just really tired of seeing the same thing every time, so now I'm not really leaving happy, I'm leaving bored. Like with Thor, Love and Thunder. It's not a bad movie, like none of the superhero movies or shows are like actually shit, like dog shit. There's just so many of them now, and it's hard to care. It also just seems completely aimless, like there's no goal for these movies anymore,
In the beginning, it always tied back into like the Avengers and Thanos and all of that, which was cool. It gave it an overarching purpose. But now they've introduced like a million fucking characters into the mega mix here. They threw like 20,000 ingredients into a stew, and it's just an overload that you can't appreciate, or at least I can't. Again, this is just about my personal opinion on it. I'm just pretty tired of seeing so much superhero shit, and I do watch all of it still. It's not like I'm boycotting or anything. I still do indulge and watch all of it, except for the shows. I cannot finish the shows. The only show I've actually been able to watch start to finish is Loki. It's the only one I've enjoyed. All of the other ones I've dropped after like 3 episodes. They're so fucking boring, and they're just always the same goddamn thing. I'm watching carbon copies of one another, like just clones. I feel like I'm taking absolute crazy pills here, getting hit by like an insanity beam from space. It really just seems every show for Marvel follows the exact same formula, as well as the movies. I liked the new Doctor Strange, even though a lot of people didn't. I had fun with it, but it's a movie I haven't thought about since finishing the viewing. It's not like I forget that I watched them. Like, I have fun in the moment, and then it's immediately erased from my memory like the Men in Black just kicked down my door to take it out with a neuralizer. It's movies that are just fun to shove some popcorn in your face and enjoy like 2-hour ride, but that's about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to its shows and its movies, I just feel like all of the superhero content follows the exact same formula. Every character is pretty much exactly the same except for their powers. They're always constantly quipping, making short little jokes with one another, undercutting the serious moments with humor at every step. It's just hard to like get invested when you know exactly how all of these are going to play out. It's also just hard to care when it seems like there's no goal. One thing that really helped with Marvel in particular is all of it tied into the Avengers and getting to that in-game situation. Like, all of it had a big purpose, which I feel like it's completely lacking now. Like, I didn't even realize we were in Phase 4 or Phase 5, and now we're moving into Phase 6 or some shit. Like, none of this has any meaning to me. It's all completely worthless nonsense. Phase 6 now? Like, who the fuck cares? What happened in Phase 4 or 5? Like, yeah, there were some good movies there that I enjoyed, but do they tie into each other? Is there an actual goal? I have no clue. And I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be tie-ins. It'd be fine if they're their own standalone things, but if they were actually unique with an interesting identity, but they're not. They don't tie in, yet they still follow the exact same formula. I don't know, it seems completely aimless. They're just always making as much superhero shit as possible, just going purely for the big quantity play. And it's working. Like, I know they're all still doing well, but I have to wonder how much longer they can continue to milk this dry tit. I can't imagine I'm alone here. I know there is a lot of people experiencing superhero fatigue, but I just don't know how big it is. Now, one other thing I'd like to at least bring up here in reference to all this is that this Marvel/DC superhero formula is something that's really infected a lot of other movies and shows because they're trying to emulate that same formula. To give you an example, the new Dungeons & Dragons movie coming out, they dropped the trailer. I felt like I was watching a Marvel trailer. They took all of the same beats that the superhero movies and shows do and translated it to D&D. So they basically just took a Marvel movie and gave it a D&D skin. At least that's what the trailer leads me to believe. Every character is doing the same shit they do in Marvel. They're constantly making jokes, they're quipping, everyone's so quirky. The writing feels exactly the same. The trailer feels exactly the same. They also get some of the Dungeons & Dragons shit wrong, as I understand it. I'm not a huge D&D guy. I only have very limited experience with campaigns. But they're just very much going for that big spectacle stuff that Marvel's known for while putting jokes into it at every single step. And I'm just so tired of it. Like, not every character needs to be Tony Stark. This all started because Tony Stark was such a popular character, and he had great writing. He had great jokes, he had great lines, but he was really the only one doing those jokes and those lines in that movie initially. And going forward, they started to like kind of integrate that same personality trait to all of their other characters. Thor, I do think, started as like goofy jokes and stuff like that, so I wouldn't necessarily say that was influenced there. But bringing it forward into every other character, they kept taking little elements of that and putting it into those characters where it didn't need to be. In fact, I think it detracts from it. Not every character should be joking all the time. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's too much. And just in general, too much of superheroes overall. I really think they need to dial it back a little bit and give themselves a little more time to let it cook in the oven and deliver something more tasty, something better than what we're currently getting, because it feels like it's just written by a bot now. A bot that knows the formula and keeps churning it out as quickly as possible for maximum turnaround and profit. I'm just a little over it, and I wanted to share my opinion on it, because so many new shows and movies have been announced for superheroes that I keep getting asked about, and I just want to make it clear I'm not like looking forward to watching them. I'm sure I will watch them and at least have a decent time. Like it's not like a waste of time to watch them, but it's not like I'm eagerly, biting at my nails waiting for it either. It's something that I'll watch for the sake of a moist meter, but past that, it's not like I'm excited for the content coming up, because I feel like I know exactly what we're going to get, and it's just something that I'm tired of getting. And yeah, anyway, that's about it. So yeah.
People between the ages of 13 and 25 who are living in their mom's basement, existing off Uber Eats, never leaving their homes, and all of a sudden, they're instant millionaires.
On the 15th of July, 2020, a 17-year-old infiltrated Twitter, posting a Bitcoin doubling scam to the accounts of numerous celebrities.
Being called the biggest security incident in Twitter's history.
Former President Barack Obama, Tesla founder Elon Musk, even Microsoft's Bill Gates.
It netted him $117,000. Pennies to a teen.
That's it! Huh? That's it. Wait.
How would you help high-achieving people like pre-meds, pre-law, pre-farm who struggle with self-worth? Is there a certain meditation you would describe? I got drunk with a lot of pre-meds a week ago, and they were telling me stories of therapy, drugs, with not success they were happy with. They're struggling with their issues. Okay. So here's the thing. So a lot of times, I had a buddy who went to Harvard Law School, and I asked him, like, after his first semester at Harvard Law School, like, how he was enjoying it. And he actually said, like, it's kind of crappy. And I said, like, what makes Harvard Law School so crappy? And he's like, one of the the people are just awful. And I said, what do you mean the people are awful? And he says, one of the worst things you can do to someone who has always been the best in their class is to make them feel average. And so what happens with a lot of these high-achieving people is that they're used to being high-achieving. Like in middle school, they had straight A's. In high school, they had very good GPAs. And so they end up in like a competitive college, right? You go to like an Ivy League school or something like that, and you're with a bunch of other pre-meds. And then suddenly, you have this identity built on being smart and smarter than everyone else, and suddenly you're fucking average. And the funny thing is, the more high-achieving you are, the worse the problem becomes. Because I want you guys to envision someone who ends up at Harvard Medical School. So not only were they the top of their class in middle school, and then in high school, and then in college when they went to their Ivy League university, and then when they wind up, because you rise higher and higher and higher, and you're always the best, and then you end up at a place like HMS. And then suddenly you're fucking average. So you've been used to not being average for even longer, and it's become even a greater part of your identity. So the biggest problems you see in self-worth are with the people who are the highest achieving. The higher your achievement goes, the bigger the problem is with self-worth. It's that simple. Right? That simple. So what do you do about it? Well, that's a great question. So I think the best thing to do, a couple of things. One is to understand that a lot of people's identity is based on comparison. So your sense of self-worth is in reflection to the people around you. That needs to change. You need to start to have an identity that's based on yourself in isolation, not in relation to someone else. And if you think about people who are like falling behind, right? So a lot of people that I work with, a lot of people on Twitch, gamers, things like that, are upset because they're behind. So like I remember when I started medical school at the age of 27, which means that the people that I entered school with who were pre-med, like when we were 20, I had a group of people who were pre-med, right? My friends from pre-med classes. And then at 22, they graduate from college and they go to medical school, and they finish medical school at 26. So I remember when I was 26 years old and they were moving on to residency and graduating, they would ask me, hey man, what are you up to nowadays? And when they're graduating from medical school, I would say, I'm applying to medical school. I didn't even tell them that because that's fucking, it's so shaming. 6 years ago, we were in the same shoes, and now I'm still applying to the school that you were graduating from. That's the comparative mindset. And then you feel shame. Right? And so you just got to stop comparing yourself. There are meditation techniques around that. We'll do that today. Okay? Yeah, so then the second part of this question is that they were telling me stories of therapy, drugs, etc. that were not succeeding. Yeah, because like a drug is not going to fix that. You guys get that? Like if you're used to being the smartest kid in the room, and that's what your identity has been based on since you were the age of 10, and suddenly at the age of 22, the entire person that you are gets called into question because you're average, a medication is not going to fix that. It's just not going to fix it. So, like, a medication can help with some of the symptoms of that, but it's not going to fix it. So what you've got to do is give people a sense of worth or a sense of identity that is based on themselves as opposed to not on comparison. And if you could do that, they're going to be fine.
The Halo TV show.
Oh God!
Yep.
Oh God!
I've saved this for a while, and yep, it's time.
I've seen like 8 people in chat be like, "Yeah, I can't watch this. I'll be back later."
So, this is what I thought we were gonna get. Okay, like I thought this is what the Halo series was going to be. It was going to be Master Chief. It was going to be a battle. It was going to be some crazy shit like this. And it was going to be awesome. Anyway, we got something a little bit different. Here we go.
This is a man who apparently sticks to a deal. He walks in the back door, takes off all his clothes in the laundry room, and goes in search of the decoy.
You want to explain yourself? Grab that towel right there, please.
Oh, no.
Wrap it around yourself, and please sit in that stool.
Oh, no.
What are you doing?
That's a good question.
What are you doing? Making a mistake. Making a mistake.
Yeah.
You drive into somebody's driveway, walk into their
prison cell,
strip naked, and walk in. What is going on in your mind? You don't know. Stupid mistakes. Stupid mistakes.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that. Holy shit, stupid fucking mistakes, man.
Now, what do you think would have happened,
John,
had I not been here and had there actually been
a Covenant spy
in that next room? What would have happened after you walked in there naked?
I guess something probably would have happened.
Something like what?
Something along sexual lines.
Like you would have had sex with
a weird Covenant lady.
I'm not sure if I would have done that, but...
Master Chief.
You're naked.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone all the way. I wasn't...
You went all the way when you took your clothes off, just about. I can only imagine what would have been going on in this house.
I can't.
Had I not been here.
I don't want to.
Am I wrong to think that?
No, you're not.
I don't even know what to say. I don't know how to start this video. The Halo TV series is despicable. It's terrible. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Why?
That's the one thing I wonder. It's like, who is this for? You're making a Halo TV series, and it doesn't seem like this is for the, this is not for Halo fans. So,
Buddy,
who's it for?
you know who it's for.
Do you really think it's just for SJWs?
You know.
Is it really? No, I don't even know. Is it Game Horny Boys? Oh my God. Trying
This is
to
definitely a Monka TOS situation.
Holy shit. The SJWs hate it too? Holy shit. Nobody wants it? I don't understand what the logic is. Like, it was so easy. All you had to do was just do this. This is all we needed. We didn't need any character development. We didn't need any new characters. We didn't need anything. All it needed to be was Master Chief with fucking, you know, some fire in the background, blowing up Covenant ships, fighting an elite with an energy sword. That's all. It was so easy. And you couldn't do it. And Cortana has to be hot. Yeah, that's basically it.
Are you doing this to me?
Is this Halo?
There it is. Paramount 343. Why are you subjecting me to torture and character assassination of one of the greatest, most iconic video game characters of all time? I just can't get
The best thing about Master Chief is he didn't really have much of an actual, like, big personality in the games. Like, it wasn't this was not a complex character. Master Chief, yeah, so, he's like this guy. He doesn't really say a lot. He's really strong. He can shoot, like, every gun. And he does, like, a bunch of really cool stuff. And he has an armor suit that makes him even cooler. That's it. That's it. You don't need... It doesn't have to be anything more than that. It's totally okay. Yeah, and he gets shit done. That's right.
Find this show anymore. I can't do it. So this is going to be a kind of review rant video. Not sure what it is, but I'm kind of fired up.
Okay.
Now, listen, there are some good aspects of the show. Let's not act like it's entirely bad and the spawn of Satan, right?
Sure.
Some of the visuals have been pretty great. The art style is consistent with the games. The acting is all right. Of course, I know all about that. And I think there is quite a diverse array of characters. The costumes and set design is, you know, it looks good to me. And the rare fight sequences are pretty epic when they do happen. And that's when it feels like Halo. But whenever...
And that's all people wanted. We don't want a B-plot romance scene. We don't want that. That's not, like, that. What is this? Like, it's... Like, that's all it is. Yeah, it's just, that's it.
I watched the show. It feels like it's explicitly setting out to not be Halo. And I don't know why. The Halo TV series has officially jumped the shark in the 8th episode of its first season. Now, granted, it wasn't all that great leading up to this, but who would have thought Master Chief would officially lose his V-card to a Covenant spy and potentially result in the destruction of Reach?
This is it, baby. Hold me.
Turn this shit off! Master Chief just
I don't even want to see it. Like, I don't even want to see it. Like, it's just, we lost Reach for this? Yeah. It's just...
That's rough.
Like... This sex scene's like 3 to 4 minutes long? Why? Like... Who asked? I don't understand. Like, what is this? Like, why?
Committed a war crime. And I can't hate this character any less than I do. Master Chief's character has been completely and utterly assassinated by Paramount Plus and 343 Industries. And they might come up with the excuse of, well, this is just a different timeline. This is the silver timeline, alternate reality.
Yeah.
It's not canon, different universe, blah, 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 whatever.
Nobody cares.
You called him Master Chief, okay? This is your version of Master Chief.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend like he's somebody else, okay? You're basing this off the source material, and you failed to accurately adapt that source material.
Exactly.
I have a right to be pissed about that.
Yep.
And so does everyone else.
And this is what these fucking places do, is they take an existing IP that is loved by a fan base, they in this case, literally pervert it into some horse shit, and then they get mad whenever people say, I've had enough. It's the same thing. Yeah, that's the thing with, like, Lord of the Rings. Nobody gives a fuck about sex scenes or romance stuff in Lord of the Rings.
No.
What?
They don't just get mad at you. They call you incels.
Yeah, you're an incel because you don't want this. Like, exactly. Like, speak for yourself. I think the numbers will speak for themselves. I do. Isn't, like, yeah, they should have done a StarCraft TV series. Yeah, they use IP like a suit. You know what they do with these TV shows? Here, let me explain. Let me show you a picture. Let me see if I can find a good picture for this. Okay, I found it. So this is what TV shows are like whenever you have them adapted, or video games or any sort of a series is like whenever you have it adapted nowadays. You want to see it, guys? Here we go. There it is. That's what it's like. It's like the guy that got taken over by the fucking alien at the beginning of Men in Black. There it is. And that is what they do to these TV shows. More sugar. Yep, there you go.
More.
More sex scenes.
I need more sex scenes.
It's fucking ridiculous. It's too much, man.
I need more romance.
Yeah. More P-plot.
Yeah, I get it. It's a TV series based off of some video games. It's not going to ruin my life if it sucks.
No.
But I will let it ruin
suck.
my life for at least one day.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's okay to like the show. Don't let me or anyone else interrupt you from enjoying this if you do. That's not the point.
Yeah.
It's just, for the love of God, 8 years for this. We waited 8 years for this. This show was first announced when MCC was announced. That's how long it's been.
The Halo universe is an amazing opportunity to be at that intersection where technology and myth-making meet to produce something really groundbreaking. And I'm incredibly excited about the great journey we're all on, the heroes' worlds.
Bunch of nymph frogs. I don't know if he's actually here. Yeah. How's your move going? Oh, I didn't know you were moving.
Yeah, we just moved all the stuff there. We have to unpack everything. It's been kind of like exhausting, especially because like first I've moved a lot before, and this is the slowest movers I've ever had, and they took like 10 hours to do everything, but they didn't even put everything in the right place. They just like dumped all the boxes in one area, and they looked so exhausted that I felt bad for being like, to like the room up there. So I'm just like, okay, I'll just move everything myself.
No, not a thing, man. That sucks. And you're also not even like taking time to stream yourself, so thank you so much for coming here. Thank you so much for coming here and streaming. Same with Britt, who's, I mean, we're using Britt for every other stream. That is just how I'll be here tomorrow. Yeah. Nick?
Yeah, so like we've been just doing a meal prep, and the bottom line is, I'm just tired of it. It's just the time commitment. Yeah.
It's been a week.
Yeah. Well, how's Eric doing?
He hates chicken. He like literally has to shove it down his throat and like force himself to eat it. Yeah. He's just like, it's hard. Meat's hard for him because he has the GERD.
The GERD?
He has GERD.
GERD.
Yeah, he was diagnosed early 2021.
What is GERD?
He can't swallow without choking.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh. What about fish? Can he eat fish?
It's steak and chicken.
Steak and
It's like the number two thing.
That is really not good.
I wonder if he can replace it with like fish instead.
So
he hates fish. He hates fish.
Okay,
so
what does he eat?
What is he like eating then?
Pizza.
Wait.
And cane.
Wait.
You like cane?
Cane's is chicken.
Hey. He actually really likes cane. So that doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's just like healthy chicken. I don't know. Not fried.
So can he eat steak if he chews it a lot?
Yeah. He has to take his time. It needs to be a lean cut.
Well, that's good. We're doing the real lean stuff anyways.
Okay, do we have the boxes, Nick?
What boxes?
Is my mic not working?
I think so.
I don't know.
Is this on or off?
It's on.
I think it's on.
Just try to make sure it's on the outside of your shirt so it doesn't rub.
Okay.
Wait,
okay.
everyone mute.
I have a caller. So hello.
I'm not sure.
Go like this, Britt. Just tap it. Louder. It works. All right, you should be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll wash my hands.
Yeah, that works.
I love how you're actually like nicely dressed, and I'm just like, bro.
No, it's because all my clothes are in a box, and then I happened to buy this, and it came in a like a nowhere envelope, and I opened it, I was like, yes, clothes.
Dude, you know how there's memes on the internet of men complaining about their girlfriends looking like shit at home when they're doing laundry and stuff. We should just all all put on dresses. Shut the fuck up. Let me finish. I'm like, we should just put on dresses and do this.
Like
you
ball
know?
gowns.
Yeah, she's got the right idea. She's got the right idea.
What meme are you talking about?
No, it's like
a TikTok video.
Yeah, it's like, why aren't you dressing up like you do when we go out, right? But then people make these compilations of them cleaning the fucking house in a prom dress.
Yeah.
So I think she's got the right idea. What she's talking about? Question marking.
You always look so
Melania, you
dressed up.
You have to be the most question mark person on Twitch, Melania.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't care. I don't care. Femcell Omega Dance. Listen, I fight back. Fuck all men.
In game.
No, in real life, you all suck.
I could have brought my rice. I have like.
No, it's fine.
This is like some fancy rice. I have never seen this before. Organic long green white rice.
Yeah.
It's finest rice.
Yes, it's like 3 different types of white rice, since that's the only thing they can eat.
Grown in the Himalayan foothills.
Yes.
Holy fuck.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That's Nick's favorite place, the
fancy.
foothills.
The foothills.
That's true.
See what you did?
Okay, this is a sweet potato, I think.
Why is it so big?
That's
I don't know.
What is this?
They're all 3 different types.
Listen, that's normal size for me and E-Rob, right?
It's so big.
It's very girthy. This one's very girthy.
This one.
Yeah, it sure is.
Why are they so light?
Why are they so big though?
Why are they so light?
They are light.
Like,
aren't they supposed
sounds like my
to?
head. Yeah, they're like hollow, like my head.
Wait, it sounds the same.
Leia's head is empty. It's a constant struggle for us.
Yeah, I was thinking we could try to make it fancy, because this doesn't have a lot of calories, right?
Yeah, ghost peppers? Yes.
We'll cure the GERD.
Why would you?
Okay, maybe not for E-Rob.
Why would you buy ghost peppers?
Listen,
Melania?
we're making fancy meal prep, okay? I might sprinkle
No!
a little cilantro.
Wait, what the fuck are you doing?
What if someone had like a reaction?
This is healthy eating.
We
Why are
should
you
do
buying
like
ghost
what we
peppers?
should do is like what is that called? Russian roulette, where one of them is just like
One of them's fucked
really
with ghost.
fucked, and
So wait,
everything
I
else
wonder,
is
are
like
these
normal.
hotter than the ones you buy on Amazon? Or are they the same?
I don't even know.
I think
what
the
they
ones on Amazon are roasted because they're dry.
Yeah, they're like dry and wrinkly and dark.
These look, they still look like I would cry because I'm Norwegian, so salt is spicy. I don't eat like spicy food.
Oh, really?
This would make me want to die. Like,
Yeah, I've eaten one. It was horrible.
I will not do it.
50 gift subs and I'll eat one. One for one.
Do not do that.
Don't say that. That's not a good idea. Like, don't do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
You'll cry.
Very strong.
No, you will.
Okay, good morning.
Very strong.
Good morning.
It lasts like 30 minutes. All you want to do is eat ice cream and drink
I will be fine. How bad could it be?
Oh God, no.
Don't do it.
No, she's joking, guys. She's just kidding.
I'm not joking.
I gotta kill this one fly. It's gonna ruin the whole stream. Where's the swatter?
Chase the fly down there.
Yeah.
Let me get it for you. She'll be fine. No, don't do that. That sounds like terrible. Like it.
I think it'll be fine. I have pretty high tolerance.
No
You do?
No one here.
Is it?
Well,
Is it coming in?
someone-
Yeah, let's do it.
His name is Gloria.
You have milk on here and ice cream. Hey, we should just start with like drinking since she's doing this. Fuck it, dude. You want a shot?
For the record.
Hey.
For the record.
This is for you.
Kyuko is trying the pepper because she wants to.
Special edition.
It has nothing to do with the 50 gifted subs. For the record.
Yay. Oh my gosh, she ate all seeds.
The seeds, Kyuko?
Why are you just eating it like a freaking apple?
She ate the seeds.
There's no way.
Is it even hot?
There's no way she's just like dancing through the pain.
Do you need some milk? Do you need
I need some water, probably.
a water?
Oh God, oh God. Whatever you want, I'll get it. Holy
Water
fuck.
makes it worse.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I could eat another one.
Don't.
Yeah.
But is it even hot though?
No.
Oh, so we'll be fine?
Okay, so they're not as bad as the ones on Amazon, or
No,
you're
they're not
just
bad at all.
or you're just dead inside.
No, they're not bad at all.
So there's different.
Okay, Britt, now you gotta do
No.
a test.
No.
Linda, you should try it, tough guy.
Extremely hot.
Okay, I'll try.
Are you serious?
I think water does make it worse because it's like spreading around.
You want some milk?
But it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Which ones are spicier?
How's your throat?
Oh
my spice
God.
tolerance is really
Are
high.
you
up.
yours? Maybe like a little nibble.
I'm tearing up. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's a little.
I've
Just a tip, huh, Melina?
I've done this. It was horrible. I'm scared.
Do you want me to get you some milk?
Mm,
You just actually destroyed that thing.
I'm tearing up a little. Oh, it's not bad. I actually think it's doable.
Britt.
What?
Put it a little bit higher up.
Does it have a collar in it?
Yeah, put it like, a little bit higher, closer to your mouth.
Is that better?
Yeah, is that better, chat?
Hello? Sorry.
I said wash my hands after.
Melina, put it in your mouth. You're not even trying.
I did.
Is it hot?
It's spicy.
So she just destroyed it, and you can't even put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
So there's a big fine line between two different people here.
Yeah.
So Kyuko is baller AF.
No, thank you to that.
So was it worth it?
Oh,
It wasn't bad.
Anyway, I got.
It's like a little teary.
That was admirable.
It was not bad. It was
That's
not bad.
actually insane.
Not bad.
Thanks, Andy.
She is crying real tears.
Yeah. Melina threw it in the trash, so minus 50 for Melina.
Yeah, and
Kyuko,
now my tongue is burning.
I can't believe someone actually did it. That was like super fast. Did you see that? That's crazy.
I can believe someone did that.
that was crazy.
Melina cannot handle seasoning. Dude, I get mild tikka
What is
masala,
Really?
and I still start crying.
Oh. I love spicy. I don't like that spicy.
I love the spicy.
I like spicy.
What Nick?
All right, so ladies, do you guys need the well, Gloria, thanks for subbing too, by the way. Do you guys need the instructions for the amounts?
Yes.
I couldn't find that.
Do you want some milk?
Maybe a little.
She's crying.
You're crying tears, Kyuko.
It's not even like I don't know.
Jesus Christ, she's crying.
Are we supposed to cry?
I can't fake cry.
Dude.
She's just dancing.
It's not bad, but I think my body's reaction is tears.
Oh my god.
What is this?
Tequila?
Oh no, I'm okay.
Okay. Guys, you know me and my drinking pressure.
Yeah.
Gotta do it.
Oh my God.
Am I allowed to have this on
Truly
stream?
impressive, by the way.
Wait, stop.
August 5th. I'm not an idiot.
August
Can I
5th,
have
okay.
this on stream?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, well, I didn't know.
No, it's like if he drinks it.
There you go. You don't have to drink all of it if you don't want to.
Do you want a pickle? Would that help?
A pickle?
We need to put
I
something else in
think
your
that
mouth.
tears is
to
just
calm
like
it
a
down.
body reaction. It's not that bad.
What else can you put in your mouth so it doesn't hurt? It's not so hot.
Queso. Ice cream. Ice cream was
Ice cream?
amazing.
Ice cream. You're
No, I think I'm okay. I think the milk is good.
Okay.
The milk's good.
Okay.
Bro, I saw a tear coming down. Like, you gotta make sure that you wash your hands already good so you don't get the juice in your eyes.
Yeah.
All right.
Like,
it's already a good start.
I just want to show. Look, mild. Everything is mild.
Oh!
I used extra mild salt. I cannot. I cannot.
I'm
I ate
hungry
it.
as dick right now.
Huh?
Have you eaten your third meal of the day yet?
No, I've had nothing.
You should be eating it by now.
I know, I'm hungry.
Dude,
I'm
he
so
doesn't even
hungry.
eat his breakfast. He doesn't make the breakfast. He
I
doesn't
cannot
eat
eat
it.
the breakfast.
So he's just eating 4 meals.
I'm not cheating. I'm just not eating
You're
the
not eating the
breakfast.
cream of rice.
I'm not eating
Is
the
it the
eggs.
texture?
It's the texture. I
The
can't do it.
You're allowed
Yeah.
to change.
Well, you don't like eggs?
No, eggs are disgusting.
Okay, so do you like hard-boiled eggs?
No, ma'am.
Dude, trust me, it's you can.
I can try a hard-boiled egg actually.
Yes, try. He won't do it if I don't do it. He'll do it.
If
Yeah,
you
yeah,
cook it for a certain, like 6 minutes, no, 7 minutes is a golden number, so
Yeah.
it's the middle's kind of like gooey.
Gooey, yeah.
Can we make it hard?
He doesn't like gooey.
Oh, you want
He
it
wants it
gooey.
hard.
I want it
so
hard,
like
like
10 minutes. Just boil them for 10
yeah,
minutes.
like
Put
yeah.
some salt and pepper on them. So good. You just pop them
It
in.
has to be harder than a hot dog.
All right, 10 minutes.
Yeah. So we're looking like harder than a hot dog.
10 minutes. Just boil them for 10 minutes.
I can try it, but
Yeah. I like boiled eggs.
we have so many fucking eggs. It's actually getting out of control.
Take these away. So we're not cooking with these. Okay, we're not cooking with those. So
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, we have way too many eggs. So here, try one. So are we making food?
You know,
for-
you could drink them,
No shot.
but then it's like a drink.
No, if I
There's some people who just drink the eggs.
So
I'm weird.
I think the point of today is you make Irab's food, you make Lakari's food, I'll make Nick's food,
Yeah.
and
So this is an Andrew Tate approved stream.
yes. I mean that's what's hot right now, so we just gotta farm it, you know.
Okay.
So we'll do that.
Where's the fly swatter?
I don't know.
We've been attacked by flies.
There's fly swatter. I think all of these.
Stomach is really spicy. Uh-oh.
I lost it.
Let me know if you need me to mute you so you can run to the restroom.
Uh-oh. God,
My stomach just feels spicy.
you want some food? You want some down nuggets?
Let
or-
me just like put something in there. I didn't eat today, so that's probably.
I have a bagel.
Give her a bagel. Give her some bread. Give her
You
something.
know what?
Give her something.
Fine.
Yes.
Unexpected.
Her insides is absorbing all that ghost pepper right now.
Here.
Well, you really did. You bossed it up though. Let me tell you. Do you like chocolate, perhaps? I don't know. What helps with ghost pepper?
Nick's like panicking.
Soda helps.
I don't want to be fucked up, man.
It's okay. It's okay.
Do you want a doctor?
We have Hershey's. We have popcorn. We have
No
Oreos.
way, my content's gonna get sick. She's gonna leave.
We have beef jerky.
We have everything. That's how he feels when I'm like on my period. He's like, you're not allowed to be on your period. You gotta go on my.
You're not allowed to be on your period.
I would never say that
Are
to
you
anyone.
serious?
Why would I would never
That's
say
like
that?
As if she can
I
control that.
like when she's on her period. It's free lube.
That is just fucking not true. Nick thinks I'm disgusting when I'm on my period, and that's just the truth.
I think your personality is disgusting when you're on your period.
Listen, my personality is disgusting all the time. It doesn't change.
Why? We have our hormones are just like rampant. Okay?
I'm aware.
Do you want cream cheese on it? This will help.
Thank you.
FYI, when you're pregnant, it's like you're on your period for 9 months.
You're shitting me.
Nope. It's really bad.
Really?
Even the cramps
But you-
and stuff.
No, like the hormones.
But you're wonderful though, so like you would never be like toxic, right?
I think Eric hated me when I was pregnant. It was bad.
Oh no.
I cried probably once a day.
You cry a
for 9
lot?
months. Because of hormones.
Oh no.
It's not my fault.
Do you want a bagel
Sure.
breakfast?
Yes.
Breakfast. Okay.
Someone said I'm fundamentally twisted. Is the title necessary? What's the title of the stream, guys?
Is it
Someone change it?
Bitches do the meal prep?
No, I hope not.
Oh, that's what I wanted it to be.
I said a woman do the cooking today. Is that offensive?
No, it's true.
You should just
We're cooking.
Hey, make it women in the kitchen.
But this helps,
I don't
actually,
like-
my stomach.
You feel better? Good.
Nice. Okay.
I can make you some dino nuggets and maybe you can give me one or two. What do you think?
Sneak them under the table.
That's like double fucked up. Like her stomach
sneak me
will
some
just be
nugs.
double fucked up from that.
Yeah.
Do you actually eat dino nuggets?
No, I actually cut it out.
Well, yeah, but normally do you eat dino nuggets?
No. Normally I do not eat them anymore.
I like them.
I can't eat them anymore because it gives me liquid shits.
Wait, what?
So like, I have like notoriously leaky butthole.
There's more if you guys want.
Well, I'm eating a bagel.
Thank you.
Dude, I gotta kill this fly. It's fucking
Oh
stuff.
my god, I thought you were about to hit me. Get it, Nick.
I'll never hit you on stream.
Oh god.
Only off stream.
Hey, you know he tells me that too.
Oh, I hit it. Where did it go?
Here. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I just noticed.
We all can
See,
go back.
see, Nick, it took an average like 10 minutes
What?
for her to notice.
That's cute.
He was sitting. He was sitting in a room with me for 30 minutes. He didn't know.
All right, I'm just gonna say it. You know why I didn't say nice hair?
Why?
Because I like the old hair better.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me.
Nick.
I just fucking said it. I like the blonde.
Why?
I like pink haired Melina. That's my favorite.
So do I.
Damn, so
I'm
that's
just gonna
none
say
of
it.
what I have right
I
now.
like it. My favorite is pink hair.
Pink Melina was a boss ass bitch.
What, pink hair?
You walked in like this every
I
day?
feel like you can kind of pull off
That's my
anything.
hips doing that. It's a hip display show. I'm like, what? Like,
No, the hair's fine, but
but what? My personality's not?
listen. Purple's great, but you're more of a pink and a blonde.
Okay. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you for your constructive criticism. Are you okay?
It's weird because it's not spicy in my mouth, but my stomach is having an affair.
Oh no.
Ruh-roh.
Listen, if you need to go, just like
Let me use
Maybe
the
because you
bathroom
drink
real
milk.
quick.
I don't know.
good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay.
So we're not doing. Why would you buy ghost peppers,
We're
man?
all
You
rooting
fuck.
for you. What? I don't know what you fucking.
Why would you buy fucking ghost peppers, man? Why would Kiko eat it for 50 subs to my channel?
It wasn't for 50
It
subs.
was not,
It's
it
because
was
she
allegedly.
wanted to do it.
Do you have a dehydrator?
No.
You could like dehydrate them and save them, and then you could like prank Nick. What?
Nothing.
keep talking. I like chicken. I like liver. Meow mix, please deliver. We are back. We are back. Yeah, I know we were muted. We're back. All right. Here we go. Whenever you're ready. No pressure. No pressure.
Okay.
Just in case. Okay.